Welcome back to the Thinking Critical Comic Book Podcast. This is your host, Wes. We've got a great panel for you today. We're going to start it off with a super chat. Thank you very much, Atomic Hound. Good morning, panel. Feeling under the weather. Looking forward to some good comics chat to help me feel better. Thanks. Listen, Doc was feeling under the weather recently, too. How are you going to cheer him up, Doc?
I'm going to try. I don't know what's wrong, but I definitely hope you feel a little better, Atomic Hound, because
there you go.
You know, it sucks to, especially if it's like a head cold or something. Fuck that on a weekend. No, it sucks to get sick on a weekend.
Yeah,
absolutely. So we're rooting for you to feel better, Atomic Hound. I hope you enjoyed the conversations today. We got a lot of comic book stuff. We are going to go a little off comic to begin with. But first, let's talk to the panel. Who we got here? We got Josh McDonald from the Pop My Culture website, also from Batman News. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing well. I'm a little congested and nasally this morning too, so I might be feeling the same thing Atomic Hound's feeling. But I'm here. I'm good. I'm happy to be talking comics. Oh, look, it's Joe Corallo.
It's Joe Corallo. Absolutely.
Yeah, it is.
Josh, what's going on at Pop My Culture? You got anything cool coming out this week people should be looking out for?
Yeah, we've got a ton of comic book review stuff coming out pertaining to Black Widow. We're just kind of, like I said last time, my whole thing is to try to get people shifted from film into comics and kind of give them some sense of direction of where to start if they're not familiar with comics. But there's a lot of Black Widow reviews coming up, and then there's going to be a Suicide Squad focus since that film's coming out, I believe, the August 6th. I'd have to double check. So, yeah, good stuff. I'm excited. Hit some delays, had power outages, had no AC.
I had the same issues. For some reason, we've had a windstorm for 4 days and all kinds of crazy stuff happening here. Oh, so who else we got? We got Joe Corallo. Did you just roll out of bed?
No, I'm all showered and nice. My hair's just long, but but no. I mean, it was just one of those days where I was actually going to be a few minutes early, but the computer needed to be rebooted and all of that, and it ended up taking a while. But hey. Here,
he made an entrance, folks. Obviously, Joe, Beckstar issue 3, is that coming out this week?
It already came out in most places. I think there's been weird issues with Diamond where I've talked to Mad Cave and I've been like, hey, I heard orders are being maybe shorted or this and that, and they were like, well, yeah, Diamond has the issues, but once it's out of our hands and Diamond has it, we don't have any control over it. So
yeah, we got it week before last.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's kind of been all over the place. Yeah. But congratulations on Beckstar. Sounds like everyone's enjoying that one. We got Drew with Comics Elite.
What's going on?
We liked the homage to for the very first appearance of Moon Knight. How'd that cover go?
You will not believe this. So at the minute we put it up, literally within minutes, sold out. Trade dress, Virgin, completely sold out. People were emailing our Facebook page complaining they couldn't get a copy in time. This is within minutes, so you're going to have to go.
I feel bad for anybody on the channel that went over there to check it out after we might have promoted it.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, it went very well, but we're going to have copies at the Terrificon show. We're going to take them over to CB Cebulski, have them sign a few, and probably do a live sale from the show that night, and hopefully you can get a copy.
Probably.
Will you say some stuff to CB for me?
Absolutely.
I'm teasing. I'm sure it'll be a fun time. Congratulations on that success. That was a pretty. Who was the artist? Was it Ken Lashley?
Yeah, Ken Lashley. Yeah, he did a great job.
Yeah, that was a nice cover. Somebody else that loves covers, we've got Just Pele from Parts Unknown. How you doing, Pele? How's the bunker feeling these days?
Oh, pretty good. Yeah, it's not bad out here. It's we had really bad showers earlier in the week, but it's a beautiful Saturday morning here in the Smoky Mountains. It's about 72 degrees, fair skies, and comic books. Lots of comic books.
Absolutely. Finally, last but not least, we've got the co-host of the Comics Aficionados. He's got an eye patch, folks. He's the comic book pirate. Doc, how you doing?
Arrgh, I'm good. I actually do look like a fucking pirate, and it's kind of awesome.
Not without a parrot, you don't. You need a parrot.
No, I need a parrot and a peg leg and like a hook hand. But No, well, like, you know, with my beard and everything, I was walking past one of the guys I know the other day. He goes, "Fuck happened to you?" And I explained, and he's like, he looks at me for a second. He goes, "You look like a goddamn pirate," and then walked away. I'm like, "Yeah, I kind of do." And so I'm kind of happy with it. If I figure if there's anything that I gotta wear an eye patch for, I mean, the last time I did it was when I was like 19 and like doing stupid drunken shit, and because that was the way to drive home, so that there was only 3 roads instead of 5.
All right, Doc, let's move on to actual comic books. We've gone far afield already. Let's get into the Masters of the Universe Revelation reaction.
Oh God.
People are not happy. It turns out the consensus out there is that Kevin Smith might not have been completely upfront about what Masters of the Universe Revelation were going to be. That some of the leaks ended up being correct. I know, Pele, you were the most excited or optimistic about the cartoon when the first trailer came out. The animation cannot be denied. It looks absolutely crackerjack. What did you think about the cartoon itself? Were you disappointed?
I thought the animation looked good, and it still looked good in the finished product. The sound was good. On a technical level, it was a really, really nice looking cartoon. And now let's get past the good stuff. And this was a fucking train wreck. It was shit. It was shit on a cracker. It was garbage. There was no He-Man as far as the show being centered around He-Man. It was about Teela, and it's always been about Teela from what they were going to do. And he lied off the bat and said, "Oh no, it's not about Teela. It's the He-Man. It's all about He." No, it wasn't. You're a lying sack of shit, Kevin. So that's and I understand why he did it. He didn't want like all the details of the show to be spilled. He wanted there to be some surprise to subvert expectations. But it was just too many people out there that already knew. Too much of the information had gotten out and spread around. So, yeah, he just looks like a sack of shit and a liar now, because he did lie. He lied repeatedly. So it's terrible, and that's why it's terrible. If he'd been honest with everybody out of the gate, then we probably would have been disappointed, because we know the show, and some of us loved it, some of us didn't, but those of us who did like the show when we were kids, might have watched it anyway. But, I got through 2 episodes. I couldn't go any further because I was like, this is stupid. It's awful. It's nothing like what it was supposed to be when we were promised. So, hell with him. Fuck him. Fuck the show. I don't care anymore.
Well, there you go. Doc, we got a question from Len Kramer. He wants to know, do you look like the pirate captain from the opening to SpongeBob SquarePants?
I'm 40 years old. I have never watched SpongeBob SquarePants. So I haven't the slightest goddamn clue.
You don't touch the ganj?
No, actually I don't.
Well, there you go. You start smoking some reefer, you'll start watching some SpongeBob SquarePants like everybody else.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I haven't smoked weed since I was in my 20s. I'm boring.
I think you really sold Doc on that. Yeah. Oh, I'll go do that now.
Just let me go and sit the bog so I can watch SpongeBob.
If I knew that, I've been doing it.
We get some hot brownies.
Yeah, I know, right?
So sorry, Lane Kramer, but I saw the picture. He looks more like Antonio Banderas when he was a pirate. That's what you look like, buddy.
All right, I can live with that.
All right, back to Drew. Let's get back on the topic at hand. Kevin Smith, not only did he promise this would be about He-Man, which Pele himself says is not true, he said it was going to be like a direct sequel to the Funimation He-Man cartoons. Was that true?
That is not true, because they had to walk that back after that statement, because Mattel does not own the rights to the original Filmation series. Mm-hmm. They sold those rights back in the 90s. So they had to they had to change the wording of it to a spiritual successor, spiritual sequel, what they felt it would have been, since they can't say it's a direct sequel. So things look about 25% different than as to what they used to look in the Filmation series. Some characters are kind of bigger, and just, you'll notice subtle differences, which is why, because they don't have the rights to it.
Is that why Teela looks like a road warrior?
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Mad Max Radiosa. Yeah, there you go. It's like that. Yeah, that's cool.
The end of the world has happened. We do have a super chat from Kenneth Dallig. I do want to say thank you very much. That's very generous. $20. Hello, gentlemen. Hope your week was good. I wanted to clear up a rumor you heard. No, I am not Scrooge McDuck. I'm a legacy character, a multiverse Bruce Wayne. I have deep pockets and love donating to Thinking Critical Party on. Well, thank you very much. I definitely appreciate it. And don't worry what Doc says about legacy characters. We love legacy characters on Thinking Critical.
Does he have a Scrooge McDuck vault he just dives into with money?
No, that's mine.
That's Pele's house.
Yeah.
He's got the Scrooge McDuckian vault. It's up on so if you're ever in like Eastern Tennessee and you're like, I want to find where Pele lives, look for the giant like 50-story building with the giant like money sign on the top.
No,
absolutely. So thank you very much, Kenneth Dallig. All right, Joe, you are a man of the people. You are a purveyor of all things pop culture. What are your thoughts on Masters of the Universe Revelation? Are you going to be the dissenting opinion and set these guys straight?
Well, I did watch all of it last night because I thought this might come up, and I got to put myself through things so I could talk about them. What I will say about the cartoon, you see, I come from a unique position because I'm in my mid-30s. So the He-Man that was on when I was a kid was the New Adventures of He-Man. The scrawny He-Man with the big, ponytail and the somehow more flamboyant Skeletor. Yeah. That's what I grew up with. So it's fine. but really, I think the biggest problem with the show is a deeper pop culture problem that's been going on for like over a decade, which is the incessant, needless urge to over-explain backstories and retcon things, and because so much of this cartoon was explaining how
world building.
It's like, oh well, this is the real origin of Grayskull. This is this. No one cares.
Yeah.
When I was a kid watching He-Man, because I also saw the original in syndication and all that, I wasn't get to the part where they explain how Grayskull works. It's like, no. Watching it for action adventure stories. But it's not just a problem with this cartoon. It's everywhere. One example I bring up a lot is Futurama years ago when they brought it back to make us all wish it never came back on Comedy Central. There was that episode where we found out that Hermes built Bender. I hate that. There's this needless urge to make the world somehow smaller. And this has been going on for a long time, and He-Man is just another example of the needless, incessant urge to over-explain, just go into backstory and flesh out a world in a way that halts the story entirely.
Like
to
Loki.
Explain things. Yeah, so that was, I think, the worst part about the cartoon overall.
I agree with you. We'll get back into the world. We'll talk about MG's $10 Canadian. Wow, thank you very much. At this point, subverting expectations means delivering a good product people enjoy, because we fully expect them to ruin and produce absolute BS. Animation and voice acting were great, except SMG.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Josh? Is that subverting expectations when you just get a good story?
Oh yeah, at this point, because I think everyone that's right, whether Joe's right, it's in all media. It's in all media. It's television, it's comic books, it's films. It seems like writers are so intent on doing something different than actually telling a good story. And I was talking to Joe about this last night. At this point, I would be shocked if someone just came in and said, "Let's tell a good story." I don't care if it's retread material. Let's just do a freaking good story.
I read a Shadow Man by Cullen Bunn in the first issue. They introduced the big villain, but by the end, he's defeated a smaller villain that's getting him along the story. And I was like, This was a comic book.
Yeah, it's a damn good series.
There was a beginning, middle, and end. It's like you never see that.
Yeah.
Like my mind was blown. You don't see comic books like
people
that anymore.
complain. People complain that they don't write single comic stories anymore, and that's true. And they say, oh well, they write for the trades. So for a long time, we kind of expected they're writing for the trades. A 5-6 issue story arc. Now they're writing for the omnibus.
Yes.
So you've got a 20 issue, 50 issue, whatever, and it's so tedious, and it's so fucking much exposition, and it's like, God, will you just tell a fucking short story, tell something that hooks people, gets people entertained, and brings them back for the next issue without just sitting around and talking about bullshit the whole issue.
Absolutely. And definitely thank you very much to MG. Appreciate the support from north of the border. We've also got Eric Owen, who appears to be from Hotlanta. Wes, love your channel. Great insights. In 2021, to subvert expectations, Crybaby Kevin should have stayed true to the original He-Man show.
Yeah.
And that's probably the truth there, Drew.
Yeah.
That would have blown everybody's like, oh, this is a real homage to He-Man, and it's celebrating the character rather than breaking everything apart and trying to turn it into something new.
Yeah, he literally did break the characters apart. After the first few episodes, it was just Eternia was in shambles, pretty much. And I will say the one cool thing, one nod they did do in tying into the toys was how they had split the sword. I'm like, okay, that's actually pretty cool because Skeletor had one half, He-Man had the other half. And I'm like, all right, that's a pretty cool nod right there. But other than that, I'm like, I'm going to go back and watch the Masters of the Universe movie with Frank Langella because that's Gone with the Wind.
Oh, wow. That's
Dolph Lundgren, absolutely.
Frank Langella steals that movie as Skeletor.
Oh, yeah, Skeletor. We've also got comic book artist, works in the animation and video game industry, Eric Canetti, friend of the channel. Thank you very much. I believe a congratulations is in order to Eric on the new member of the family. Congratulations, my friend. He says, I worked on He-Man 2002. I recall seeing the trailer to this new version and thought, yeah, we did this better 2 decades ago.
Truth.
Congratulations, Eric. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely to Eric. That's kind of one of the things, Joe, is they keep redoing all these things for nostalgia's sake. But if you can't do it better, should you really just be doing it? All you're kind of doing is exposing yourself to all the flaws and whatever it is that you're making. If you make an original idea, it can be crap. Nobody will even notice it.
Yeah, no, I mean, and you can say this across the board. I think there are more people who would have been excited, like, I'm just detouring for a second, I'll come right back to Masters of the Universe, but I think there are a lot of people who would have been more excited if they did, like, 4K remasters of, like, Deep Space Nine and Voyager, than a lot of the stuff they're producing right now.
Discovery and Picard.
But with Masters of the Universe, there's just so many things that don't make any sense. Like, He-Man was primarily to sell action figures.
Yes.
That was the success model there. There are no real lines of action figures to go along with this. I'm sure there's like higher end things for.
There are definitely. Aaron Sparrow and I were going to talk about him. He's got them at his house right now, and he says they look great. Yeah,
because I know a few people who are collecting that sort of stuff. I mean, I knew a reviewer who already told me or had mentioned it was basically the Teela show a couple of weeks ago. So I came into this completely aware that was going to be what was happening. And that kind of storyline, I don't think anyone would have cared about, like in terms of it being a negative thing, if this was like an ongoing show and this was like a 5-episode arc in the middle of season 3 or something like that. But did something happen? Was there like a wave of like a mind suggestion or something? Because no one has ever talked about Teela ever.
No.
Ever. I've never met anyone in my life who was like, Teela's the it's like He-Man, and then you go way down. It's like Man-at-Arms and Orak and
Mothman.
Yeah, or some of the different villains. But like, I've never, ever met a single person on Earth who was like, I watch it for Teela. It's like it's not a thing. I get it if this was like old Doctor Who. And someone's like, "Oh, I watch it for Leela." Like, I get it, but like this, you see that, and then there's all these people out of nowhere. I don't know where they've been that are coming out being like, "This is great. I love Teela." It's like, do you? Have I ever heard you in my life say how much you like Teela outside of maybe being like, "I need a Teela action figure to complete my set" or something like that? It's like, no, it's not.
Because
what's happening?
No, it's because it's all they're doing is just picking the thing that's going to piss off the people they don't like.
Right.
They never liked Teela. They never cared about Teela. But the fact that it's a Teela show and it's pissing off He-Man fans means that they not love Teela.
Well, and it wasn't a Teela show. That's the thing. If they had been up front and said like Teela's going to be front and center, there wouldn't be this reaction there is right now.
First of all, if he would have said that Teela's going to be front and center and He-Man's going to be relegated to the sideline, nobody would have watched the show or given a shit about it being produced in the first place. Yeah. But there's a big fucking sign on this that should have been very, very clear to all of us. Beyond just the guys at Clownfish that did notice all this stuff. The name He-Man is nowhere in the fucking title.
Yeah, that's happened before though.
Yeah, if you go to Netflix, I think if you type in He-Man in Netflix, it doesn't show up at all. Like you have to type in Masters of the Universe
for good reason.
But there is.
We've also got. Oh, sorry.
No, sorry. I was just going to say real quick that there is something. I think that writers are sometimes horrible people, but in this instance, I think it's sometimes. But there's too much of an urge, I think, when a writer sees a character that isn't developed to be like, ooh, we can have all sorts of fun with a character like Teela. She's not that well developed, and we can do all these kind of things. Whereas with He-Man, no matter what we do with the character, there will always be a segment of the audience who's like, that's not my He-Man. No matter how strict you keep to the original, there will always be some element because He-Man is such a thoroughly fleshed out character over multiple TV shows. So I get where that comes from, where it's not necessarily out of like, let's screw over the fans. It's like writers and people thinking they're very clever, being like, ooh, we can develop all these characters and we can do it. And we can be the ones that when people think of Teela, it's our version of Teela. Like there's that.
Nobody's going to think of Teela, though. It's like this is just so stupid. It's like a tertiary character. Nobody thinks of Teela.
Well, I will say.
All right, guys, I got to
go ahead.
We got more super chats to get here. We've got the people's Federico de la Casa. Thank you so much for the €5. The problem with the Master of the Universe is that now every show has to be dystopic and apocalyptic, and this show was both. Killing He-Man was killing optimism. Joe, that's one of the things I thought the reason that you wanted to use like a dystopian future or whatever was because the setting's familiar, so you don't have to do as much world building, but you could do some new things with it. But it sounds like they used the setting, but then did all the world building anyway.
Yeah, they set up this new setting. They spent a ton of time building up the world. They killed He-Man twice.
Twice.
And celebrated it.
And they hinted at, because I also watched the interviews after that, they hinted at, like, that might not be the last time we see He-Man die. So
it's
crazy. So he's Kenny. He's Kenny from South Park.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Good.
We've also got Nerdy Girl Creates. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Hi, guys. Last night I had to listen to my brother go on for an hour. How can you do a show about He-Man without He-Man?
Yep.
Can you do a show without He-Man, Josh?
I mean, clearly They did. Not saying it's the right idea. Well, I mean, look, what I was going to say is Joe was talking about, writers have these characters that haven't been developed and they want to develop them. And that's fine. I think that's a smart idea. But if you're going to do that, start off with it as a supporting character and keep them as a supporting character and almost do like a backdoor pilot type thing. Like if you want to do something with Teela, do a season, like have He-Man be He-Man. That way you're getting your core fans that are enjoying it.
You have a little mini series that spins out.
Start developing her, make her where she is interesting, and then move into it. You can have another little mini series that focuses on what you want to focus on with that character, but be smart about it.
Yeah, people coming in to watch a Masters of the Universe cartoon rightfully expect He-Man. Shocking, they expect him to be front and center.
I'm just gonna get a T-shirt made that says "I came for Teela."
No,
I'm not.
Nice.
You're gonna
in the
steal
street.
some Teela?
That there was sell that.
You know that there was a lot of people that came to the new Star Wars movies for Luke, Leia, and Han too. And what did we not get?
Absolutely, Doc.
Not together.
So we've also got Kenneth Dowling. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Very generous. I didn't watch the cartoon, but disappointment in Kevin Smith doesn't surprise me. I like him as a person, but he can't be too much of a fanboy, always begging for attention, and he doesn't realize his potential as a storyteller. I don't know. He's had a good story, though. I don't think I've liked anything that he's done since Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I didn't like Clerks too.
His storytelling days into 20 years ago. Those days are long gone.
Kevin Smith's storytelling. Kevin Smith has become generic fanboy that loves everything, and is just going to fawn over everything. That's it.
And cries while doing it.
Well, we know he had a condition. He almost passed away. I guess that can change your life. He has a new perspective, but
I've got.
It just doesn't feel like he's done anything good in a long time.
Yeah, my uncle had a heart attack, and he'd always been kind of like crazy biker, insane dude. He'd been a member of numerous. I think he was a member of the Outlaws at one point, and just a crazy guy. I think he got arrested in Oklahoma for having sex with a girl on a motorcycle while doing like 60-something miles an hour. And,
good on him.
And I mean, he was nut. He was absolutely insane, but he had a heart attack and something affected his mind afterward. And he went to becoming a hippie, like within 6 months. He'd gotten rid of all of his leathers and he was wearing cargo shorts and sandals, and he said that he was very frank with me. We talked about it. He said something changed in my mind. He goes, something in my brain is changed now, permanently wired differently. He said, it was just a stress of the situation or something like that, an aneurysm or something happened, during that event. And, he physically doesn't think the same anymore. So
it definitely he appears to be a different person, and I wish he would stop crying though, Joe. That's what I want. No more tears.
Yeah, sure. You should get some Johnson & Johnson there.
Yeah, but absolutely.
But no, baby shampoo.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it's good to use baby shampoo because you're going to dry your hair out if you just use regular shampoo every day.
And he's an old guy. His hair's not exactly in the shape it was before. And he's already had.
Let's get back on track. We really need to. You're interrupted 4 times, Joe. What were you trying to say?
No, I can't even remember at this point.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Kenneth Dowling.
Thanks,
really
Kenneth.
Appreciate the support of the channel. We've also got Lane Kramer. What is Hasbro thinking now? All the characters they put out action figure for have died, some multiple times, including Mossman. They killed Mossman?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Right in the face.
People are talking about the show. I think that's all they care about. People are now.
I knew they killed Orko. I knew they killed He-Man, but they killed Mossman. That guy was dope.
I think they're trying to kill all the male characters.
Yeah. Or if not kill them, just
incapacitate them
to the point where they're just nothing.
Well, they also tried to redeem Evil Lynn, and the whole weird.
Another modern trope in storytelling. Let's redeem all the evil characters. Cruella should have skinned those dogs.
No, redeem all the female characters. The male characters can twist in the wind. The female characters have to be redeemed.
But if you can redeem Evil Lynn, that means I can be redeemed as the writer of the show.
Yeah. And her name is even evil.
All right, we've got Wolfstein 3D. Thank you so much for the 549 euro super chat. If Teela would be able to carry a show as the main character, they would never have had to invent She-Ra. Got a point there, Doc.
He's not wrong. Right. I mean, look. Teela she was enhancement talent for He-Man. In the original show, she was other She-Ra for when She-Ra was not available. That was her function in that show. And now she had her own character arcs and whatnot, but that's what she functioned as. And now making the show about her, okay, so you already had the She-Ra show, and that failed. And now they're gonna take He-Man and turn it into the Teela show. All right, and that's gonna fail. Now, what's next? What else can they break before? This is why I look personally. I've just stopped. Like, I haven't watched a single second of this. As soon as I heard what it was, and as soon as I heard that it was, the rumors were true, that it was basically a TV show, I just said, okay, cool. I'm just not interested in watching now, and I haven't. I'm not even flipping past it. I'm not gonna hate watch it. I'm not gonna do it just to roast it. It's pointless.
Never did I think I'd be agree with Grace Randolph. Grace Randolph, her review is correct. I'm like, holy crap! I'm siding with Grace Randolph on this. Jeez.
Eric Canetti's got a good point here. He says Mattel and Hasbro are funding a Masters of the Universe animated series on Netflix, so I think they want to sell toys. Who is their target audience for this new show, Joe?
I can't imagine. They're
certainly not
audience.
The Masters of the Universe fans, the people that have loved the series for forever, been buying the collectibles and all that stuff. I imagine in their minds it's girls, but
the target audience for these action figures would be 40-something-year-old men that want He-Man and Skeletor, nice, giant figures. That's what you would sell with this. Like, I could see the argument for like the She-Ra cartoon that they're trying to sell dolls to a younger girl audience, but the way this show is done seems to want to sell big, nice toys and statues to 40-something-year-old men for
after spitting in their face.
It's a very weird dynamic. I don't even think like Teela, like there's not even like a 6-issue miniseries of Teela in a comic I think you can point to. I think the only time she really had a comic was the one that was like packaged with her action figure. Like like that mini comic. I think that's it. Like there isn't this demand for that. And even then, I think you're probably gonna have an easier time selling like, Man-at-Arms and Evil Lynn figures than Teela, even after watching this show. So I don't get it.
Apparently, Jervain Dargan is in the house. Definitely watch our It's Complicated series. He says, I never liked He-Man in the Masters of the Universe. I always liked Masters of the Universe because it sounds cooler and much more epic. Well, that's your opinion, Jervain. Maybe we should talk about this for 40 minutes on It's Complicated because I disagree. We've also got Old School Comics here. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I used to watch He-Man with my younger cousins when I babysat them for the uncle who gave me my first X-Men and Legion of Superheroes comics when I was a preteen. That is a damn good uncle, Doc. Whew.
Yes, it was.
Setting him up for success.
God damn. Yeah, you're set, that uncle definitely set you up for having good taste.
Absolutely. Congratulations. We've also got Neostar Productions. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. $10, very generous. Now that I think about it, there were barely any Masters of the Universe in the show. We got 2 main heroes, 2 main villains, and 2 minor recurring characters making up the overall team. Is it just a bag of disappointment, Drew? Is that what happened here?
For me, watching the animated series, watching the movies and the 2000 series. I'm like, this is worse than all of it. I mean, granted, the animation is better. I'll give them that. But story-wise, character-wise, it does not hold a candle to everything else that came before it. Even the one from the 90s.
Is it as bad as Thundercats Roar, though?
What's that?
Is it as bad as Thundercats Roar?
No. I'll say that's probably worse. That was character assassination in that animated series.
But it's the bottom of the barrel.
Yes.
That's too bad because that animation's so good. All right, Joe, what were you saying?
No, I was just like, because at the end of like the first episode, the whole like reveal of Prince Adam was He-Man and the King didn't know and feels betrayed and all that. Again, like I see where in a writer's room or when you're putting a show together and you're in a bubble, you think like, oh man, this is going to be a huge payoff to everyone who's loved this show for decades and it's going to be this big thing and they're going to be so invested. And then you watch it and you're like, what? Huh?
What? Nothing.
Yeah, what am I supposed to love about this show? What are you telling me that you're telling me I'm supposed to love? So I'm not seeing it.
But I see where, again, in a bubble, when they were producing this show,
in the writer's room,
probably sincerely thought that this was going to be this like wonderful nostalgic trip for people, and it falls so flat on its face, and you wonder where, but you do see like through the animation, through the voice acting, through if you go to the bare bones of the storytelling, what they thought was going to work, or where those like emotional beats where they wanted you to feel certain things are, it just doesn't work.
We've also got Kenneth Dowling. This is a Pele subject right here. I could be off base, but it's like there's a war on masculinity. I agree with you. As somebody that watches a lot of animation and show for kids, they definitely do not highlight things that boys traditionally do as far as roughhousing and stuff like that. They want to get that stuff all out of all of them. But Kenneth says they want to turn men into English boys begging for testosterone. Is that true, Pele?
Yeah, that's it.
Let's hear it.
No, I don't have the voice right now. My throat's a little sore. But
sorry,
but
Kenneth.
maybe into the show. Maybe I'll be hyped up by then. But it's just, oh God, it's so obvious too. It's painful that they're trying to. I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to balance the sexes via culture, and the thing is, the sexes have already been balancing. For decades now. They think it's back in the 1950s still. 50s and early 60s, and they don't understand that the sexual revolution already happened, that women are in the workforce. They actually are. I see them. Trust me. They're out there and they vote and they interact with everybody in society now, and they have equal rights, believe it or not.
Heathens everywhere.
And but they're still pushing more and more, and they're still pushing, and it's like, come on, guys, just give it a break, for fuck's sake. It's already, there's already been a parody here, but they don't want parody. They want superiority, and at least I'm pretty convinced that there's elements, that certainly do, and it's enough already. And
everyone in the barnyard is equal, but some are more equal than others.
Yeah. All right. So we got one person that works in the entertainment industry, gets paid to write stuff. Is it an out and out fact that there's a war on masculinity going on, Joe? Or is it, are they more coy?
I said some.
I think a lot of what we see ends up being, again, that subverting expectations and people thinking they're very clever. But again, this is stuff that's like, it would have been clever 10, 20, 30 years ago. But these are people, like, it's less about like, oh, we're going to stick it to men. It's more like, ooh, we're so clever. We're going to use Teela. And that then people aren't going to expect that. And like that kind of stuff. It's a mixture of that. And I brought this point up before too, is another aspect of it isn't quite that. That's what gets you headlines. That's what gets you coverage. And you want the free media. So you announce,
you have to lean into it.
You know, we're going to do this with a female character, with a POC character, with a queer character. So that way, you know, the Hollywood Reporter and the New York Times and all of that do pieces, and everyone's talking about it, and people are engaging on the internet, and people are talking about, you know, finally this is happening, and blah blah blah, and like, so it's more cobbled together with multiple pieces like that than people like sort of overtly doing that. A lot of the people who I think are overtly like out there saying like, yeah, men have enjoyed He-Man for too long, like those, a lot of those people who preach that kind of stuff aren't actually in the business. They're like people just wanting likes and retweets in a toxic social media environment, which is another conversation. It's just a disgusting web of awful things that come together and sort of create this environment we're in with something like that.
I think
we've also got.
I just wanted to add one thing to what Joe said. Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's like an intentional thing. I think it's what it is it's a bunch of D students that think that like it's like this Dunning-Kruger thing of we're going to be super clever, but we're really, really fucking stupid.
Sure.
Well, not very big, very good at being clever. We've also got Federico De La Casa. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Masters of the Universe 2002, which our good friend Eric Canetti worked on, and the DC Comics version were dope. They had a fantastic lore and were not used here. The only interesting thing was the stake of dying magic. There you go. Thank you very much. And I bet Eric is very happy to hear that you said that his version of the Master of the Universe was dope. We've also got Wolfstein 3D with the €5.49. If your relatives introduced you now to current Master of the Universe X-Men, my reaction would be, what have you done to deserve such punishments? Times have changed.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
absolutely. It would be abuse, wouldn't it, Doc?
Yes, it would. But
do you hate your nephew? Why would you do that?
if you were to introduce them to modern X-Men and modern Masters of the Universe, it's because you dislike them. Or to say, hey, look, if you can find anything even slightly redeeming in this, I got something so much fucking better for you. But yeah.
Yeah, that's too bad. We've also got a super chat from the Doctor. Who the hell is this guy? He-Man smashed the like button. Absolutely. If you're enjoying the conversation, you want other people to know about it, definitely smash the like button. If you want, go and grab a link to it, share it on social media, and let other people know that we're having fun. And don't forget to hit that bucket.
Yep. Hit the bucket, motherfuckers.
Smash that bucket. We've also got Uber Red with the $9.99 super chat. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Anything that was originally marketed towards males or male-centric isn't in vogue. At this rate, men are not going to have anything solely. I don't see this happening to girls' brands. I mean, I don't see that really either, Josh, but I don't have girls. I only have boys.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general there's been a little bit of a consensus of, you know, everything is for everybody at this point. I think kind of I'm going to touch back on the points that Joe was making as far as masculinity goes. I think the difference you're seeing now is whether it's intentional or not, to raise female characters up or raise female interest, their approach that they're using is just tearing men down. And there's multiple ways of doing this, and you can verbally do it or just, you know, make men look like the butt of all jokes. And, you know, I think that's playing into it. But yeah, I mean, with female or girl-driven products, I don't necessarily see it like, okay, well, let's do a boys version of this. And sometimes it does feel like we're taking something and targeting a female audience, which is fine. You don't get
the easy bake oven with the steak option, right?
They don't. Ken doesn't have a whole line of fucking sports cars and different jobs.
Yeah, no.
I've never done Barbie shopping.
But
I haven't either.
The one example I will say, even though it wasn't intentional, but they eventually then leaned into it, is My Little Pony.
Yeah.
It's the bronies, Joe. There's an audience for it. The bronies who did it.
Yeah, but they did not intend that.
No. I don't think anyone thought BronyCon was really going to catch on as something a lot of adults, let alone male adults, were going to be really interested in.
Yeah, so that might be the exception that proves the rule. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head, but that's like the big glaring one. That's in that.
What we really need is somebody to get Ken a grill, accessory and a Jeep, maybe a bunch of guns, and make him into a giant G.I. Joe.
Yeah, he needs the Barrett. He needs the Barrett 50 cal upgrade.
I don't know, Doc. Will you be our correspondent from BronyCon 2021?
No, but I do live in Pittsburgh, so we have Anthrocon here. So I could go be around the furries if you really want me to. Although I was supposed to go a couple of years ago, but they apparently decided you're not allowed to dress like a safari guy and carry a big gun.
All right, we've also got Eric Canetti zooming out a bit. Entertainment industry is trying so hard to catch up with each other, capitalizing on social trends. It feels overwhelming. It does feel overwhelming, and a lot of times, Josh, it sounds like you kind of agree with this. It feels like they're too late because it takes a while to produce this stuff, and it always comes out 6 months, 9 months out after the actual trend hits.
It's too late. It's too heavy-handed, and then there's this whole like commentary going around with some of these things, like, as if it's never happened before. And if we're talking about strong females in particular, like I was born in the late '80s, so I grew up with things like Terminator and Alien and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where you had these great, incredible, strong female characters that were there, and it wasn't heavy-handed. It was just like, hey, these characters, these people, these women are capable.
Never happened.
It kicked ass, but now it's like, oh, we never had strong females. It's time we have strong females. And that was kind of my point I was making previously, is now the approach is, well, let's tear this male character down to push this female character up. And if you're ever tearing a character down to promote a character, you're not going to succeed, ever. But yeah, there's way too much pressure to try to be on social trends. And
you know what we had in the late 70s, early 80s, Josh? We had the gorgeous ladies of wrestling. I had Mount Fuji and Little Fuji. Very powerful female characters.
Yeah.
Every Saturday in your wrestling program.
A lot of this isn't even that new, because if you way back when Gail Simone took over Wonder Woman, they were reporting that she was the first woman to write Wonder Woman, even though at least 3 women had written Wonder Woman before, including Roy Thomas's wife and Mindy Newell. So you had that. And then when Alters happened at Aftershock, that's only maybe 4 years ago now, I think. There was a New York Times piece about it, and they were talking about how this is like the first trans superhero. And it's like, okay, there was a trans superhero in Doom Patrol in the early 90s. Yeah. And it was very weird to me because, I know Paul Jenkins had nothing to do with writing the piece for the New York Times, but it was weird because it's like Paul was writing Vertigo comics at the same time as they were having these out trans women were writing trans characters in Vertigo books. And then they do this, and it was just like, what the hell is going on?
History started today, and tomorrow it will start again.
Yeah, that's because they're activists, and the activists they don't think about destroy the past. There's only today, and they're going to be activists.
You know what? Destroy the past, burn it down if you have to.
Yep. You know what? I will steal a line from Kevin Smith here. Everybody want to feel like they Marco fucking Polo.
Yeah, there you go.
There's nothing new under the sun.
Darth Bobcat, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Theory, the reason we keep getting these subverting expectation shows is because Hollywood won't make new things, so writers who want to be creative can only get gigs on reboots and remakes, and they got to do something that's new and original, I guess, with the characters. That kind of makes sense, Joe. We've talked about that many times on the channel. I'm going to have Mark Pellegrini talk about this again. You can't do new stuff in Hollywood and entertainment. Everything's a reboot and remake.
Yeah, it seems like everyone's just playing it safe, even though they're not. Because these reboots all have diminishing returns, but there's still this ingrained idea of it's an existing IP. This is safer. We should build up on that. And over again, we see how that's not working, but people keep doing it. And I think that's what's causing, I know that's a factor in what causes a lot of frustration. I mean, I can't tell you how many times myself, and I imagine everyone on this panel, has seen something get announced and just thought to themselves, "Oh, that's going to fail. Any idiot sees that," and then we're
Snake
all
eyes.
Yeah, it's like we know that, and then we watch it, and then everyone's like, "I can't believe this idea that everyone knew wouldn't work didn't work," and you're just like, it happens over and over and over again. Yeah. And like what was it, that Tom and Jerry movie that came out with Scarlett Johansson's husband?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? Everyone knew that.
You made a Tom and Jerry movie?
Yeah.
That's seriously how little it mattered. We all forgot about it because we knew from the
Rocky and Bullwinkle happened.
Yeah, no, this one was just a couple of years ago. We all saw the trailers for it. And we're like, oh, this is going to be a massive failure, and then nobody cared when it was a massive failure.
I watched it. It was not awful, but it wasn't good.
But it doesn't. But we all knew that it was going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
Let's get back on time. We're coming up on an hour of this, so thank you very much.
Okay.
We've also got Old School Comics. Why not do Strawberry Shortcake Mech Strike?
That's what I want.
You could be in Skyver's doing that, actually.
Pippi Longstocking Gundam Wars.
Absolutely. We've also got Federico De La Casa. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. There's definitely a war on masculinity. That's why the manosphere on YouTube is rising, and they try to censor people like Kevin Samuel and JB Peters. Oh, there you go. I don't know about all that stuff because I don't watch those channels, but it does feel like, just from what I see, that they want to pull the masculinity out of my boys. That's what I'm feeling as a father.
Mm-hmm.
They'd like to pull the boys out of your boys. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neostar Productions. There's a lot of people who like to revise history so they can take credit for accomplishments that have already happened. Justice for dating the street. That certainly feels like that's the case.
Yeah. Louis Simonson, Innocenti, often forgotten. It's like, they've been here for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
And Wolfstein 3D, thank you so much. You guys remember when Tolkien subverted expectations, sending hobbits to throw the ring into a volcano over 3 books, not to deliver on the premise? Oh, that's burning expectation. I think everybody wanted more hobbits, wasn't it?
I'm just happy they threw the ring in and then they went home.
Yeah.
That's not what happened.
I know.
All right, Doc. You almost got me there, Doc. A little nerd rant about Lord of the Rings. Like, that was not the end of the book. All right. Lade Kramer, comic question. To purchase video from the other day. Wes, have you heard that it's true that Tim Drake will be officially bisexual going forward from DC? I don't know that, but I did get somebody was saying that. Have you heard anything about that one, Joe? I know we talked about it here on the channel.
Yeah, they hinted at it, and apparently in this next issue that's not out yet of Urban Legends, they were saying that it's going to be confirmed. Just to be clear, what they're confirming is that they don't know what to do with Tim Drake.
Yes.
Yeah.
and
they're confirming there will be no Tim Drake-led stories for the next 10 years.
Yeah, well, the thing that really annoys me about there's a lot of things that annoy me about this, but it's so important to Tim Drake that it's happening in not a book starring Tim Drake in like an anthology bit, with no promise of there being a book with him, and there's no follow-up. Like, they're just being like, oh, he's bisexual. It's not like, oh, we're setting up Tim for like his own book or a book where he's on a team that he's going to lead, and we're going to be launching something, we're going to put him in a new city, we're going to set something up and then put focus on it. It just seems like they have no idea what the hell to do with this character, so you change him like that, and then you shelve him, and then you bring him out next June for the Pride anthology, and maybe he shows up in the background of another book. That's what's annoying. There's a lot of other problems too, where it's like he could the breaking up with spoiler like off panel, which I know Joshua we talked about last night. That's infuriating, and also the idea of he could be dating, like the way bisexuality works You could have him keep dating, spoiler, and he can just be bi.
I thought they broke up in the last issue of Young Justice on the hood of that car.
But like the way they explain it here is it was like, oh, I'm not seeing spoiler. Like it was just a very weird way to go about it. But I just hate this kind of stuff because it's like, oh, we want the backpacks, but we're not actually going to put out books, even with some of the popular characters that were able to carry their own book for a time, like Batwoman. It's like you have a Batwoman TV show, and you're not putting out a book starring Batwoman, who's probably one of the more successful queer characters in DC, even though that the character had been in multiple runs. It's just a whole mess, and I hate it.
Yeah, I mean it's essentially they love the idea of making something like that canon, because you keep hearing, oh, it's canon now. There's nothing you could do about it. It's canon now. It's like, yeah, well, do something with it. Run with it. No, they don't care. They just want to. He's by now. We're going to save that up there for a rainy day, and we're going to drag it out.
You only get an article for the first appearance. After that,
my response.
There's no more headlines.
My response to all of this is just the world's longest sigh.
Yeah.
Oh, agreed.
It's sad.
It's.
All right, Josh. Since you're the Batman guy, did you have anything else that you wanted to say about that one? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Look, my stance on this is, well, I guess 50-50. I am a gay man, if anyone doesn't know. And for me, it's just like, I'm sick of the pandering. And as a Batman lover and the lover of that universe, it makes no sense for Tim to be bisexual. He's got such a tenured history of not being bisexual and not leaning that way, that for me, it's like you've already been destructive with this character, and now you're doing something else that's going to make him divisive with his fans. And it's just like you keep setting him up for failure. Like there are plenty of Bat characters that are getting spotlights right now that have no history delved into concerning their romantic lives. So pick one of them, make them bisexual, push them. It would have been fine, but Tim it doesn't make sense.
There's also something a little off-putting about the idea of Bruce Wayne going around and picking up, underage bisexual boys.
Hi there, little boy.
Like, maybe don't do that.
Yeah.
No, this is point. All right, Doc. We're getting back online. You're gonna go somewhere bad.
No. I was actually gonna say, look, that this is just Icemanning him. It's about because it's about just taking something that exists and co-opting it. That's all that the goal is take a thing that's one way, change it, and then go nah, we changed it. Yep. That's all it fucking feels like.
It's canon now.
All right, guys, it's canon. It's in the show. Let's talk about Andrew Wyatt here, who's going to get us back on topic. He-Man was a mashup of Death, Return of Superman, making Teela into Ripley from Alien, and Prince Adam became Scott Pilgrim. Teela was insufferable.
Yes.
Well, Prince Adam was Scott Pilgrim, then he was insufferable. That's what I got to say. Ripley was kind of dope.
Maybe everyone in this show is fucking insufferable. Maybe this show just shouldn't exist.
Bingo.
The point of Scott Pilgrim as a character was that he was insufferable.
Yeah.
In the book, at least, that was the whole point. You were supposed to read that and be like, "This guy sucks."
I hope he doesn't win.
But that and so that works here. But yeah, Prince Adam in this, I don't get it. Like the whole reveal of oh, Prince Adam's the only guy who decided to be a scrawny weakling in this afterlife place. It's like, why? I don't understand. Like, I would get it if it was a mix and different people. Some people had their overpowered Grayskull, powers, and some people didn't. But for Prince Adam to be the only one who did, it's I don't. What the hell does that mean? What are you trying to say? I don't get it.
He always wanted to be a scrawny weakling. We've got Kenneth Dowling following up on the Tim Drake conversation to piggyback off what Lane Kramer. This is like Iceman being gay, but there's no legitimate story for it. Just as Joshua had pointed out, gender and sexual identity politics without good stories. That's the problem. They just want to get it as long as they take it.
The only thing I will defend, though, is if he's bisexual, that's a better retcon than Iceman being gay. Agreed. Because that, like, the Iceman thing, it's like, we've seen Iceman with so many women before. And even if he ultimately ended up just wanting to be with men, or, you know, this whole thing, anyone who knows people like that, it's kind of like a journey for them. Like, maybe I'm bi, and then they figure it out. Like, but this was just sort of like he's gay now, and that's what just, it didn't feel authentic. It didn't feel like there was any actual interest in it. It felt very corporate. Who's an X-Men that people like, but it's not that important, but people know his name, so that way, you know, we get the maximum amount of back pats for, you know, and that's what
without any financial failure.
Yeah,
because it's not a character that can be viable on his own anyway.
And what happened was Jean got thrown under the bus because everybody just assumed that she screwed with his mind and made him gay.
Because she did.
Yeah.
I'm digging thinking cynical Joe Corallo. He's bringing it today. We've also got Ricardo Guerra. Why would DC make a Robin gay? Do they not remember the perceived innuendo of gay Batman and Robin in the 50s, which they spent decades trying to live down? Is that true, Josh?
I mean, I think we're in a different time, but he's got a very valid point. Like, I'm just gonna say, you know, and again, I think it falls into the fact that Tim is supposed to be underage here. So yeah, why?
He does in that book. He looks like he's 14 or 15.
Yeah, it's very Twinkie inspired. I don't know. There are other bad characters that are around right now that they could have easily done this with. It would have made more sense. I don't think you'd be getting as much pushback as you are with Tim. And like, if I think of Tim and I think of a character that goes with Tim, I usually think of Stephanie Brown, just because they've had so many stories together. And if I were going to do something other than that, maybe Connor would come next. But it doesn't make sense, man.
No, you know what else doesn't make sense about it is who goes from, you know, seeing someone like Spoiler to seeing that one. I'm blanking on his name, but that character from Bill Willingham's Robin run that they just plucked and completely rewrote Tim Drake and his buddy in a completely alien way to what Bill Willingham was doing. But
it almost feels like they were like, hey, who's a blonde that he's friends with that's a guy? Oh, here's one. Throw him in there.
Yeah. Well, it's just like that. It's so pathetic. It's like, really, dude, you're just going after like the one guy that like you were friends with, like that's your thing, and it's like it's kind of creepy because it's like, does he know that you Tim Drake are like you're wanting him like that? It's like you could play the field, buddy. It's a lot easier now. And
get Tinder. What are you doing?
Yeah, you know, Tinder Drake. That's what you could do.
That could be his new hero name. We
That's what I was about to say.
Tinder, get over here.
Yeah, but no, it's just pathetic. It's like
swipe right, baby.
You know, and especially if you really want to impress him, you got to get more experience, sleep around first before you go after someone you really like. Come on, hasn't he seen a sitcom before?
I thought it would have been Grindr.
No. I don't know.
Grindr Tim.
Nightmare X123. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. The reason adaptations don't translate into comic sales is because directors are too egotistical to make one-to-one adaptations like anime does. Since there's no parallel, there's no easy jumping up point. That's certainly something that's true, Joe.
Yeah.
You can't jump in from a cool comic book adaptation like movie and right into a comic story and continue your journey. It does not work like that.
Doesn't at all. I think I brought this up somewhere, but like with the Loki show, if someone was like, "Oh, I really liked Loki. What do you recommend? Like, what's a comic I can read?" And if you asked anyone, they'd be like, "I have no fucking clue."
Nothing. The answer is nothing. There is no comic that is even remotely similar to what they gave you in that fucking show because the fucking showrunner had never read any of the fucking comics.
Right.
All right. Well, he also
Richard E. Grant's Loki was the closest Loki that we've had to the comics. He was fantastic as Loki.
Smartly made near one-to-one adaptations would be the easiest way to provide a catch-up for newcomers getting into comics with years of history. You are 100% correct. That is one of the things that manga absolutely lords over Western comic books. That and their very cheap app that you get all the new comics on. You can read everything via Shonen Jump.
Problem is, nobody's going to get all the comic creators would get way more in residuals and royalty checks out of that, and the directors and producers and writers wouldn't get anywhere near as much. So they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. We should do that conversation a little bit more in depth. I think there's some things to explore there, but we do have Exploding Pretty here. Excellent screen name, her excellent handle there. Jean Grey is a Fujoshi. Use your psychic powers to force her headcanon onto Bobby. Is Jean Grey forcing headcanon?
That sounded awful.
Yeah. Well, actually, you know what? If she was forcing head on Bobby,
headcanon.
Head cannon.
Right.
Wait. Somebody tells me what the fuck a Fujoshi is.
I had to look it up. I googled it. It's a self-mocking term that literally means rotten girl.
Oh, okay. Then yes, I will go with that. Yeah. That's about right. I have no idea what the hell these manga terms are. I don't do your weird Asian comic gibberish things. No, yeah, she turned him gay.
Yes.
Well, Jean's also a very boring character that they keep killing and bringing back, and I don't know why they keep bringing her back, because
her name's Phoenix.
So many more interesting characters. It's like
absolutely.
She's a plot device like Wonder Man now.
There's only two people that have ever wrote Jean interesting, and
all right, Doc, this isn't the X-Men stream. Thank you very much to everybody. We finally have caught up on all the super chats, and we're going to wrap up the Masters of the Universe / is Tim Drake bisexual now? It appears that he probably will be. If you're catching on the replay, there will be timestamps, but you won't care because they'll already be there. So there you go. Let's talk about 5G. We got some new information about 5G this week, and I do want to say thank you to everyone for supporting the channel. The conversation in the chats looks like it was very civil, and everybody had a lot of fun things to say about that. So we did get some information about 5G. James Tynion was actively avoiding writing 5G. He was making up his own projects because his Batman run was going to end at issue 100, and it turns out, it looks like, according to some rumors, Josh, that the big bad villain of 5G was going to be Damian Wayne. Did we dodge a bullet, or are we heading there anyway?
They've kind of been toying on and off with what they want to do with Damian, and they've played with this idea of making him bad. In the Batman Beyond comics, they had him become Ra's al Ghul, and he was kind of like, it was honestly an interesting storyline. It was split pretty 50-50. He wasn't completely evil, but he was Ra's al Ghul.
Ra's al Ghul wasn't completely evil.
Agreed. Fair. That's a fair comment. I don't know. I think they're trying to figure out what they want to do with Damian, probably because they have way too many freaking Bat characters right now.
Yep.
And they're just trying to throw different ideas out there and see what sticks. I'm kind of glad they didn't, because I think they spent so much time trying to redeem Damian in a way and get him on a heroic path that to just suddenly take him straight evil would be a poor decision. So I'm glad it didn't happen.
Yeah, I love Damian. Damian's my favorite Robin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, because he does play that counterweight to Batman so well, and they do have that great father-son dynamic that, even though the Robins are always kind of his sons, it's different when it's blood, and you can tell it's different in the way they interact with each other. He pushes the limits a lot more than any other Robin.
Yeah.
He's like, because he can, he's like, you can't just kill me or fire me because I'm your son, and I'm going to keep talking back to you, and I'm going to, but he does a limit. Yeah. And eventually he will get in line. Go ahead, Joe.
No, I was just going to say, I love Damian. Pete Tomasi is the one who really won me over with him on the Batman and Robin stuff he was doing.
Yeah.
And they just did in Rebirth. Tim Drake is evil in the future, kind of thing. So it's like, what the hell? How creatively bankrupt are you to be like, oh, what do we do next? Another evil Robin? All right, let's do that. It's just, they're doing too much. There's way too many Bat books coming out, and way too many books at DC and Marvel, frankly, that are coming out where you get these storylines that are just happening, overlapping each other constantly. It's like in the past few years, Bane took over Gotham, then Joker, now the Magistrate, and it's like, you guys, stop.
Yeah.
Stop it. It's like, how ineffective is Batman if every other week it's like, another gang took over Gotham? Shit. There's only like 30 Robins and me and all these other Bat characters and multiverse characters hanging out in Gotham. How are we supposed to stop some thugs from taking over?
Yeah.
It's just
sad.
pathetic.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Josh.
I was just going to say, I know that one of the storylines they were going to put forward was with at the time Luke becoming Batman. Damian was pissed about it, and I would say rightfully so. And I think fans would have agreed because, I mean, if you look at who should be Batman's successor, I think a lot of people would first say Nightwing. But I think if you understand Nightwing wants to be and has become his own man and needs to be Nightwing and needs to be lifted on a pedestal as Nightwing. And then your two next successors, depending on what continuity you're looking at, would definitely either need to be Damian, which makes the most sense. And if you go back to pre-Flashpoint, Tim Drake could have easily become a successor.
Oh yeah, he would be. He would probably be the best fit as Batman. But Damian will kill.
In the DC Rebirth when he crossed over with Mr. Oz. That was great. That was a great miniseries that they did. And
I think Damian will kill anybody who tries to take Batman from him.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, because he's like that. That's my heritage.
Yeah.
You know, that's my
his birthright.
Yeah, that's my birth. That's the word I was looking for. It's his birthright to be Batman. So anybody that tries to take that from him, he's going to gut them like a fish. Whether Batman should do that anyway.
Well, if you look at Damian's story in general, the whole crux of his story is what legacy is he going to choose? Is he going to choose, the path of evil or the path of good? So the whole crux of his character and the point of his character is to become Batman. Like that's how they established him. That's what he set up to be. That's where they started taking him. And now it seems like the only stories they can think of with Damian is, okay, well, if we look to the future, who else is going to be Batman and why is Damian upset? And
I don't think that's the point. I don't think they look to the future anymore. They're just looking at the present and trying to see, who can we have take over Gotham this week? Oh, well, yeah.
Well, this kind of reminds me of like the whole situation with the Bat universe right now. Kind of reminds me of the Gotham TV show. We realized with the way that show worked, you were either watching a show about an ineffective cop or a show about a guy that would grow up and beat up geriatric people because everybody was like 25 years older than him. Yeah. And the current Batman has about the same amount of thought behind it. Like it should have been something that was thrown out immediately because it just doesn't work. It causes more problems in the end. There's no, I think this is a problem in comics in general. There's no through thought on what is the law of unintended consequences that are going to come as the result of each of these dumb-ass decisions.
Yeah, that's where with publishers especially, it's fine to have a creative mindset, and I understand wanting to do things, but you need to have someone there with that business mindset that's looking at long-term growth, not just short-term growth. And you don't have that. Like there is no planning because they can't stick to a plan. They will plan things, and then in the midst of that plans, they decide, here's something new that's bright and shiny. Let's go this direction instead.
We do have a question from Lane Kramer. Do you think if we had 5G, at least Wally would not have been future stated, be a serial killer, and force Barry to watch for all time? Oh, Wally. I don't know, Drew. I think that one, like that and the Teen Titans thing, felt like it was just added on to future state. Like maybe it wasn't the original plan.
No, I don't think it was. I don't even think they thought about it. They just pitched an idea and said, "Yeah, go with that." They didn't think about the unintended consequences of it. So you break something, how do you put it back together? They didn't think about really putting it back together initially. We'll get to it eventually. Don't worry about it. But but the back to Jonathan and Damian, we've only got a few years of them together as this dynamic duo. Not much time. Now, if they had waited another, say, 5 years down the line and did this idea, okay, we could probably go with that because they would have grown up. We would have seen them as adults, maybe. But just to have it go from kids to immediately adults hating each other as opposing sides, it's like that's too soon.
Yeah. Yep.
And Tevia Smoker says, who would want to have the Super Sons kill each other anyway? Not me. I wanted the Super Sons to work out together.
I don't want them to. No.
The monthly comic.
They squandered such a great IP. That should have been a cartoon. They should have developed that for HBO Max as a kids cartoon. They should have not touched it. Kept
for
spitting out
25 years.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and that's the comment I was going to make. Even from a publishing standpoint, you have two young characters that people gravitated towards and caught on to. And instead of making the smart decision of letting them grow up with the audience to then potentially have new freestanding characters that you can use freely, they're like, no, we're going to fast forward. And you completely shut that progression down.
And they could even add something like Selena Kyle's niece or something like that,
sure.
Something, just a female character added just to make it, make it more inclusive.
Well, they had the Teen Titans that they would interact with.
They could have gone full Teen Trinity and added
Cassie Sandsmark?
Cassie Sandsmark as the older sister of the group.
Yeah.
And but the thing is, I don't even think you should have had them grow up with the audience. They should have just been stuck in time.
As an entry point for new readers.
Yeah. That was perfect for the next 20, 30 years.
Absolutely.
She could have been there, what is that? The Miles Morales Spider-Man movie, where everyone was like, oh, there's a younger version of Spider-Man. Yeah. You had a younger version of Batman. You had a younger version of Superman just waiting.
Just think of the toys. Think of all that. I mean, it would have been a gold mine. But, like I said, they don't think to the future. They think of now.
And it was illustrated by Jorge Jimenez, so it looked great.
Yeah, that too.
Yep.
Perfect entry point. Kenneth Dowling says, I like Batman working alone, but if I had to pick my favorite Robin, I would pick Tim Drake. Are we called him Tinder?
Grinder.
I like Grinder. I think he's the smartest, most level-headed, and actually wanted to be Robin. Pedro, who's your favorite Robin? So actually, Tim Drake is certainly the most prepared to replace Bruce Wayne as that version of Batman, but my favorite Robin is obviously Dick Grayson, although he's Nightwing, but he's my favorite. He's my favorite Bat character by far. Who's your favorite Robin, Josh, since you're the Batman guy?
If we're talking about tenure as Robin, I would say Tim Drake, and it could just be that that was the Robin that I had as I was really getting into comics and reading comics. Damian's right there behind him because I think Damian's just, burning this new path. But yeah, Tim Drake. And again, if you haven't read Christopher Yost's Red Robin series, a lot of what we're talking about of what makes Tim great and why he could potentially be the next Batman is really defined in there. And it's a good book. You've got Ra's al Ghul acknowledging him as a superior in some ways to Bruce in certain aspects. And it's not one of those here's a cheap writer just trying to build this character up. They really establish why and then kind of build into that. But Tim for me.
All right, Drew, who's your favorite Robin?
It's been Tim. I grew up with Tim as Robin, and just seeing his journey all the way from Nightfall to Cataclysm, No Man's Land, seeing everything he's gone through. It's this is the one. This is the one. If there wasn't a Damian, he would be the successor to Batman and should be. And we've seen some great glimpses of what could have happened if he were Batman, like the DC Rebirth. He took this darker side. And there's a great scene where he confronts Stephanie. This older version. It's this is damn good. But it's Tim has been my guy.
All right, Bailey, who's your favorite Robin?
Damian. It's got to be Damian because he's just such a little shit. He's a great counter to Batman, and he really pushes Batman. He really pushes Bruce's buttons in a way that no other Robin does. But he also, at the same time, he works for it. He really works for it. He doesn't have the physical gifts that Tim does. He doesn't have the intellect of Dick Grayson. He does, but not as methodic. He's methodical, but he's not as intellectually gifted. There's ways, but he works for it, and he's willing to do the things that other people aren't, which I think is what we need from a Batman going forward.
It's that lack of that empathy. It's that he lacks that empathy that the other Robins have.
Yeah. But I think he'll grow into that. And something will happen along the way, and he'll grow into that. But he's my favorite Robin. I would say then Tim.
All right, Joe. Who's your favorite Robin?
It's always tough because it's very easy for me, depending on what I'm reading, which Robin's in it. If it's a good story, it's hard for me to be like, oh, this is great. I need more of this Robin. But Damian's definitely up there, and Dick Grayson's up there in the sense that I love the Bronze Age pre-Crisis Batman and that era. And I think he's so good in that. So I know it's a bit of a cop-out, but it's if I'm reading that stuff, it's definitely, Dick Grayson. And then obviously just between, Super Sons and Tomasi's Superman run and all that stuff. And Tomasi back to Batman and Robin and all that stuff. It's hard to not say Damian for me.
Yeah. All right. So we are running a little low on time. We're not going to be able to talk about 5G as much as I would like, but we do need to talk about this next thing.
Yeah,
Marvel is killing. Doc, you hate legacy characters, right?
Stephanie Brown.
There we go. Exactly. You hate legacy characters. We've got Marvel killing off major comic characters that are going to be in the MCU soon. We've got Scarlet Witch just died. We got the death of Doctor Strange coming up, and it's certainly heavily hinted at that Spider-Man is about to die. What the hell's going on here, Doc? Why are they killing off all these major characters? Is it just for shock factor so they can sell some comic books?
Well, yeah, I mean, partially that. But look, they already tried this by killing them off after the movie comes out when people are starting. So this time they're going to try their different way of let's kill them before the movie comes out to see if it'll work. Instead of just letting people go see the characters in the comics that were in the movie that they just saw, because that apparently is the thing that they can't do. No, they need to kill them. No,
all right, Doc, I got to back out. I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but Atomic Hound came in with the last minute 5G question. The meta question is, who's running DC, and what's the plan to resolve Future State 5G Infinite Frontier storyline? Is there one? There is a plan. I believe Josh probably knows about this, and I'm sure you've heard about it, that there's another crisis that's going to happen next year.
Yeah. I was going to halfway jokingly say there is not a plan because no one at DC actually knows what's going on, and I think the crisis is to resolve that. But
yes.
Yeah. Who's running DC? On a serious note, I think that's a lot of infighting within DC right now to determine who's running DC. And I don't think we're really going to get some clarity until maybe Discovery takes over and, some leadership.
It seemed like Scott Snyder was the creative guy that was taking a step back from writing to do more creative direction, but I'm not even sure if that's the case anymore.
I think Scott Snyder has a lot of weight. I don't know if I think his heart is out of it at this point. Yeah. So
that's your plan to resolve Future State 5G and Infinite Frontier, though. It's a crisis. It's coming to 2022, and you shall see it soon. I'm so sorry, Doc. Let's get back to Marvel Comics killing off these major characters, and thank you very much, Atomic Hound. I'm sorry I got to that after we had already.
No, it's fine, man. Don't worry about it.
Finish that.
No, but look, Marvel has they've been for the last decade. Their way of capitalizing on the success of their films is to then make their comics as completely unrecognizable from the films as humanly possible immediately after the films come out, or around the exact same time the films come out. So this time they're going to make them completely unrecognizable before the movies come out, maybe thinking that it'll have a different outcome this time. I don't know. I mean, these people are the dumbest marketing people on the face of the planet. Because if they were any good at it, if you could sell a fucking, if any of them have even had retail store experience where they made a commission on sales, they are doing better than they would if they worked in Marvel's publishing or marketing department. because they probably have better ideas and they probably make more wherever the hell they were at before. These people are dumb and do dumb things.
I think they just hate their. I think they just hate their jobs. Comic books is not where they want to be. They are disappointed and they want to leave their mark and they want to be noticed by somebody else in a different industry. So they're going to do things that are going to hurt the comic book industry in the long run in an attempt to get attention.
I don't know. What do you think, Joe? What's the plan behind killing all these characters off? It doesn't really make a lot of sense.
I don't think there's too much of a plan other than they might be trying to coincide with some relaunches towards the end of the year with the Penguin distribution.
Yeah.
This might be their way to try to get some new number ones out, when the character's back or this and that. It's all just so deeply, like, everyone is burned out. We've seen this game play over and over again. No one thinks any of these characters are dead and not coming back anymore. And once you get past that point and you see that, it's very, like, how do you get people invested in? Because you're not delivering stories anymore. You're delivering these, like, short mini-series or short bursts or,
That's exactly right. Joe's hit it right on the mark. They need something to elevate these characters and make them make them stand out before around the time a film is coming out in order to get a relaunch and everything else between the Penguin Random House thing, the movies coming out, and they don't have any other tools in their toolbox. They're not good enough creators to make a storyline that is going to be, that they haven't built anything up to this point so that they can culminate around there and like have these characters on some other level. They don't have the tools to do that, like, creatively. So what do? They go for the low-hanging fruit. Let's kill them and bring them back.
Yeah, it's just a gimmick. What do you think, Drew? Is this gonna work out in the end? People gonna be excited or?
No, this is all short-term money. It's all short-term money. It's like, let's do an event. Let's have 20 covers for this one issue, then 10 and 5. Let's just get that money to get us to the next event, to the next step, to the next step. It's just these short little bursts. There's no long-term end goal with this. It's just, let's just make it to the next one, make it to the next one, make it to the next one. Just, there's no grand design at the end of this. No.
Yeah.
It's short-term money.
Unless you're Ed Piskor.
Yeah. Which was a great story.
And it's like that with all of the hobbies.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems to be going that way. I don't know, Pele. There are no stakes in comic books anymore. It's been completely ripped out of the medium.
Yeah, I want to. What I was saying, it's all like that with all the hobbies. If you play Magic the Gathering, you've seen it too. It's like one event after another event. It's nothing matters except for the next set, and they don't care what kind of damage they do to the legacy. They don't care what kind of damage they do to the storyline or anything going forward. They're going to try to drain as much money as they possibly can from this 1 month or this one next release, and they'll deal with the consequences later. And that's not any way to build a healthy culture behind your product going forward. But damn that, these people aren't looking at comics as a lifelong endeavor. They want the short-term game. Give me as much money as you possibly can right now, and nobody cares what happens 3 or 4 years from now. So
yeah, it's crazy. Kenneth Dowling kind of hits on something here, and thank you so much for supporting the channel. I mentioned I want to write my own comic book. My dream is to write a character for Marvel, but when I see Marvel make these dumb decisions, it really dissuades me. You're kind of seeing, Joe, a push, within your peer group to maybe do your own stuff. Maybe working on a Marvel character might not be the end-all, be-all. There might be too many corporate mandates to do this and this and this. It might just be better creatively for you to just do your own thing.
Well, for a while, you've been hearing that. Again, for probably about a decade now, a lot of the creators, they get their name at a place like Marvel or DC, and then they try to use that to, get an image book, a boom book, or things like that, and they work around there, and they try to save their best ideas or what they perceive as their best ideas for those markets instead of the big two, because they don't want to give away their better ideas. So Marvel and DC don't have any incentive to give creators to give them their big ideas or to have them create characters.
Yeah.
So this is what you get. You get creators who are like, all right, fine. I'll just rehash this event because you're not going to pay me anyway if this gets adapted into something. Or if you do, I'm going to get a check for like $1,000 and you're going to make $1 billion in a movie. So forget that. I'll just rehash, Age of Apocalypse. I'll just rehash No Man's Land. I'll just rehash this and that because who cares? You're just paying me to do this. And a lot of times, too, you've been seeing this more. This fluctuates over time. But clearly, based on the stuff that came out about, future state and 5G and all that, DC went back to being more of a, hi, we're hiring you to tell this story. And not a, oh, we're here, we want your ideas. We want to cultivate that. We want to do that. And that is also a detriment because those ideas aren't necessarily clearly they're not working either. So it's just a mess, and that's, I think, really the frustrating thing here. I mean, strip away all the other stuff. Forget about social media. Forget about politics or anything like that. At the core of this, it's a mess. And when something like this is a mess, all that other stuff becomes more obvious and glaring. And I think that's kind of how we got here.
Now, how much of this falls upon the shoulders of C.B. Cebulski? Because he's the editor-in-chief. How much of this is really falls back to him? Should he be having more say over the editors, be like, hey, you guys need to fix this. You guys need to do this. Is he just more of a hands-off approach? He's just letting the pieces fall as they may?
It's interesting. I know for a fact that CB has stepped in on certain things, but it's all interesting because certain editors have more pull than others. Some things are top down that they're told they have to do, and I think in any working environment, this isn't just comics, but it's hard to operate in any office, no matter what you're doing, where it's like, okay, these guys kind of have power, and then these guys, or this person's like kind of the head, but kind of gives more leeway to this group, and then there's people above the editor-in-chief or above like the executive running the office who also chime in and say things. I mean, I've been in just like office situations like that, not having nothing to do with comics. So it's tough. I mean, I don't think a lot of these places have recovered since the 90s crash. I mean, I think there's still issues at Marvel from the constant handing over the reins throughout the 90s that are still with the company of this day. I mean, there's a lot going on, but I do think overall, especially on social media and YouTube and other places, that there's more of a focus on the creators. And for the most part, there are certain editors that I think have stuck out to people, but editors tend to get more of a pass, even though in a lot of these situations, they're the ones who are pushing the story forward. So it's at fault. Yeah.
Well, you hear Chip Zdarsky say he doesn't want to work on high-profile projects at Marvel because he wants to be able to write stories.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes sense.
That's a problem. Because like look at like Spider-Man, for example. And it's solid right now. Spider-Man has been so much worse at different times. Nick Spencer's doing fine. However, it's not new reader friendly, and there's all these other elements where I'm sure he couldn't do whatever he wanted. I mean, if you tried to explain to someone like, oh man, I really like those Tobey Maguire movies, and then I kind of fell off, but then like Tom Holland, I'm really into the MCU, so like what's going on in Spider-Man comics now? Oh, you know, Harry's dead, but he's back and he's a villain kind of, and before that, Doc Ock and Spider-Man, they switch places. You just try to explain stuff and people will be like, what the fuck? I just want to read a story about a Spider-Man guy who has everyday problems. What the fuck is going on? You know, like everything's so far off the rails. There's no, and every time they attempt to rein it in, they either, you know, they cancel it, they, you know, mess it up again. It's so, everyone's like kind of written themselves into a corner and no one knows how to properly get out. Instead of trying to find the door, they're clawing at the corner, hoping that maybe one day they'll break through the wall and get out. And that's never going to work.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to be able to beat that. That was quite the rant, Joe. I really appreciate that. Let's get on to the next topic. This one's interesting. This is a Pele topic. We've got Batgirl. Barbara Gordon has been recast in Hollywood. We've seen the extinction of another redhead. It feels like all the redheaded characters within comic books have been recast. Is there a war on redheads, Pele?
It looks that way, doesn't it? I mean, it is brutal. And no, it's not. But it just seems like any time that there's an opportunity to recast someone and do a race change, race swap, they do it. I mean, they just jump in wholeheartedly, both feet, you know, oh, this is what, you know, this is the way it should be. And it's just old. It's old. It's tired.
It's predictable
at this point, and it's gotten to the point where if it didn't happen, it would subvert our expectations. So, you know, I have no.
Tim Lim says the ginger side's real.
It is. And it's sad too, because, you know, where's the ginger representation? You know, how are you going to get these redheads into reading comics? You know, if they don't have anybody to look up to. Isn't that the excuse they use? Isn't that the excuse?
No, there's gingers in comics. It's in the.
No, movie. I'm just saying that they say that people won't read comics if the comic characters don't look like them. Oh, come on, that's a load of bunk.
Yes.
Archie wouldn't have been this successful for so long if that was the case.
Precisely.
Because that fucking book is like 90% gingers.
Here's what I don't understand. It's like, well, we have to change the character drastically like this to draw in the new readers. It's like, well, what about the old readers who are going to get pissed off? Well, we don't care about the old readers. We care about the new ones. So you don't care about the existing fan base that actually has the money, that actually has the time with the characters. You're fishing after this new crowd that doesn't have resources and doesn't have money, throwing out the old guys because who cares about old people, you know? And it's like, you know, you've got the one bird in hand, you're chasing two in the bush, but you're not even sure if they're birds or not. You're just trying to do something to make yourself look trendy so you get a pat on the back.
There's a joke in here about there just being
birds and bushes. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say there's a joke about this with there only being one casting agent and it's a dyslexic racist. But I'm gonna just keep my mouth shut.
Let's, you know, and we're done. You know, they're done at this point. You know, they just keep destroying one property after another this way. What, Batgirl can't even get 450,000 viewers in a week now? I mean, it's just sad. It's broken. It's disgusting. And, you know, the people.
I don't think Batwoman was actually ever a ginger. I think it was always a wig.
Anyway.
She started off as like auburn, and then they did make it red hair just shorter. Yeah. But I'm going to jump in for a second. Like,
go ahead, Josh.
You know, when you sent this topic, I was like, yeah, I guess there have been a few redheads that kind of got altered. And then I started going through the list of everything, and I was like, holy shit, this is a lot. You know, I do think I'm a firm believer I actually have a bit of a television background. I lived in Los Angeles for 10 years, and I'm a firm believer in like get the best person for a role. So when I heard that Gordon for the new Batman was going to be
Jeffrey Wright.
Yes. Yeah. I love Jeffrey Wright. I think he's one of the best actors around. I got excited. Mm-hmm. And then I immediately thought, okay, hey, well, this means, if they do Batgirl at some point, she's going to be a black female. Mm-hmm.
But the weird thing is, Josh, they specifically said that is an Elseworlds movie.
Oh, I agree. I was about to get there.
I'm sorry.
One of my things was like I was a little let down because Barbara's been called Babs and Red from time to time, and I was going to miss that aspect. And I was like, if it's for Jeffrey Wright, I'm all for it. Like I don't mind. They can find a good actress to do this, and it'll work. And then they blatantly said this Batgirl is going to have nothing to do with that. And I was like, well, okay. At that point, I'd like to see Barbara as the Barbara that I know. But also, like, why not? If you've got someone as good as Jeffrey Wright that you can use, and you're also going to have this Gotham HBO Max show, like, why not have that synergy and that connectedness? Yeah. And it's just, I don't know.
The one that I don't get?
Which one do you not get?
Red Sonja. What the fuck,
That one doesn't make any sense at all.
It's like there's no connective tissue to, like, okay, Batgirl, fine. Gordon's a person of color. He's a black man, and if you really, it's an Elseworld story and all that kind of, okay, fine. I can see that. I don't like the fact that they're doing that because it's pandering crap. But okay, fine. Red Sonja makes no sense at all. That is absolute just bullshit, and that's just doing it to do it.
Her name is Sonja. And she was called Red Sonja because she had red hair.
Right.
If she's not red-headed, they would have never called her Red Sonja. And
right. Exactly.
You go watch the Shawshank Redemption. The one character is called Red. In the book, he's an Irishman.
That's just.
But
it happens.
In regards to Red Sonja, looks nothing like Red Sonja physically at all.
Neostar Productions, it's got the good point here, and I'll throw it over you to Drew. I mean, it can't be a coincidence that all these notable redhead characters are constantly being switched. That's the point. It's constantly being switched out in films and live action. It can't be a coincidence, can it?
This is why I say there's one casting agent in Hollywood, and it's a dyslexic racist.
Can you stop making that fucking joke, dude?
Right.
Please stop making that fucking joke.
I will.
God, I already fucking told you in the private chat. God.
Oh shit, I didn't see that.
Archie is the last one. As soon as they race swap Archie, then they'll have no one else really to swap.
I fully expect that. I fully expect that they will.
I think it'll happen at some point. I think once Riverdale is done and has time off, you'll probably see that. I think what it more so comes down to, and it's just more of a coincidence of that we're seeing it happen with Redheads, is I think we have a lot of redheaded characters in comics that are higher supporting characters, and I don't think casting agents are. I think you have some casting agents and some studios that don't want to be so bold to change the main character because they know that they're going to fight a lot of backlash. And I get it. We're seeing it with Superman right now, but we've also seen multiple iterations of Superman. But I think they're kind of looking at what's a supporting character that may not ruffle as many feathers. Who can we do this with? And I think it just happens to be that it's been a lot of redheads. At the end of the day, do we need diversity? Yes. What are the thought processes of who they're picking to race bend or gender swap? I think it's a give or take. I think some studios and some companies are actually putting some thought into what they're doing, and I think some studios aren't, and they're just let's just do this person, and they're running with it. So I don't think we can holistically say one way or the other, but.
I fully believe that it's backpats. It's for woke backpats on Twitter and stuff like that, and say we've changed this. Aren't we wonderful? We're being so progressive, and it's like, yeah, it was wonderful 15, 20 years ago, 30 years ago when people were being, when inclusivity was actually starting to be pitched in Hollywood and people actually had a genuine heart about it. It's not wonderful and everything like that when it's like an expectation now. It's not genuine and wonderful when, these people, do it strictly to throw a bomb into a property and cause destruction.
It's just, I'm just wondering who's next. It's a matter of when. Who's next?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this might be shocking to some people, and I'm sorry, but Scarlett Johansson's not a natural redhead. And,
no! Oh my god!
But no, I mean, in terms of high profile in these big movies, they did at least, they did stick to that. But yeah, I mean, I can't care too much about that because I mean, I love gingers. I want to see more gingers, but that's a separate thing. But yeah, it's. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're all still like, you know what? Maybe it was that South Park episode. And we're all still, and Trey Parker and Matt Stone were just that convincing. Let's.
Eric O'Sullivan's got a point here. He says, I see it as being anti-Irish and even anti-Semitic. Who are natural white redheads? I'm Irish. Both our cultures have problems with erasures. I think the swapping, is even. Do you think it goes that far, Joe?
I wouldn't. I don't think so. Like, I don't like to make those kind of assumptions about people because that's like that. Is it possible that someone is thinking that? Sure, but I'd have a hard time, making that kind of assumption with someone. I will say though, when since he brought that up, one interesting thing is. This is beyond the redhead conversation. Is we've yet to get a Jewish actor playing Ben Grimm in multiple movies. We've yet, they made that big announcement with Moon Knight, and it's Oscar Isaac. And last time I checked, he's not Jewish. So, and again, there is a level of hypocrisy in what people care about and what they don't. Because a lot of the same people that were very upset about certain things, the same exact people were thrilled that they didn't cast a Jew as Moon Knight. And, it's interesting when you see all that. Because ultimately, it is a popularity contest. It's ultimately about where, what's the popular opinion and people wanting to jump on that bandwagon. And since Oscar Isaac is a popular actor, you weren't going to get as many people coming out and saying, well, wait a minute, why didn't you do this? So there's a lot at play here that goes beyond that.
Do you think that they'll try to play Oscar Isaac as being Jewish since Moon Knight is Jewish in the comics?
I don't know. I don't know if I think they might lean into...
I think they ignore it.
Yeah, probably.
It's possible, yeah.
Because that's actually, in the comic books, that's actually an important, not very important, but it is a part of his character that his Jewish faith. Mm-hmm. So it's like, ooh, hey, what are you going to do there? Nothing. We're just going to ignore it.
So, I can see them referencing it. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I know there's this whole conversation going on with film and television about, we need a Jewish actor to play a Jewish character. We need an Israeli actor to play an Israeli character. Mm-hmm. I'm vehemently against that. Because it can get flipped around as well. You're a Jewish actor, you can only play Jewish characters. Mm-hmm. But I think it's more so what's more important is for the character itself. Like if the character is Jewish, then you need to represent that character as Jewish. Mm-hmm. I don't care who plays him, unless you're an asshole that's spoken out against that community, then maybe that's not the best decision. But just I feel like they'll probably slip it in just very slightly. They'll at least reference it in Moon Knight and then kind of leave it at that. And we don't know. This could be multiple seasons of the show. I do know that they have openly stated they have plans for the character in films. So,
yeah. All right, Doc. I want to say I'm sorry. I shouldn't have lost my temper there.
No, it's fine. I shouldn't have made the stupid fucking joke because it was terrible.
I would appreciate that, but we do. Does anyone else have anything to say about Hollywood's hating redhead? Is there a war of redhead?
I do have one.
Another joke?
No. I'm just saying that I think what it comes down to is a lot of people just don't look good. There's not a lot of redheaded actors or actresses, and a lot of people don't necessarily have they just don't look right whenever their hair is dyed.
Guarantee it.
I mean, you got a handful. You got a handful of actors and actresses that can look okay. Like what's her name from the one that looks like a foot from the Spider-Man movies, and Scarlett Johansson. They look decent as redheads, but there's not a lot of other red actresses.
Kirsten Dunst,
yeah, she looks like a foot.
She looks like a foot. Like a goddess. What are you talking about, man?
Only under the right light with the right amount of makeup.
But,
okay, Seinfeld. Oh,
it's true.
But regardless, there's a lot of actors and actresses that when they do, like, even if they're just wearing a redheaded wig, they just don't look right.
Kirsten, if you're in the chat, I don't agree.
I don't agree either.
If she's in the chat, she can yell at me. That's fine. But only in super chat. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot.
I was just saying, we also have to keep in mind that, you know, when you have big budget productions like this, there's also just a marketability of the actor themselves. So, yeah, I think that definitely.
I think people like the Vin Diesel, could be any race kind of actors.
Yeah.
Hell, they even made jokes about that in Fast 9.
I do want to say Emma Stone is hot.
Yeah, Emma Stone, but she actually looks better as a blonde.
No.
Yeah, that's debatable, man. Like, what? Okay. Mina Savari, there you go. Another redhead actress you could go get. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Let's
Christina
stop talking
Hendricks.
about. Let's not go there. All right. We're going to stop. We're going to take this last question for Kenneth Dowling. We'll move on to the next question. We got Kenneth Dowling. I'm curious. Guys like Chip Zdarsky and Donny Cates seem to write good stories at Marvel without interference. How do they have the power to do that? I think it's different for both. I think Donny Cates has such a high history of sales that he somewhat has carte blanche. Whereas Chip Zdarsky, after probably working on 2-in-1, which is going to launch into Fantastic Four, and working on Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man, has kind of leveraged himself over onto smaller properties and kind of get to what he wants. Do you have any idea on that, Joe?
I think you more or less hit it. I think Chip proved himself as a critical darling, and that's given him a lot of wiggle room there. And with Donny, He's got sales on, you know, most of his books sell pretty well. They certainly sell better than, you know, I mean, selling a Venom book that well for that long isn't that common. So he's got that going for him. And he also has cultivated a vocal fandom and things like that, which I think he's also been able to use in his favor.
So thank you very much for supporting us. We got some more stuff. We're going to get back to DC Comics. Did you know that there's a multiverse mystery going on in Infinite Frontier? You're supposed to be asking questions about what all these things mean. How does this puzzle all mix together? Josh, I think DC's problem is no one cares.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I think it's this week's comics that at the end of every issue they had the thing with Mr. Bones from the
Director
DiDio.
Bones.
Yeah. Like overlooking the panel of all the different things. And it's just, it's one of those things where everything matters, nothing matters. And that's the corner they've written themselves into. And they're trying desperately to make things matter and what can we do. But again, no one cares. At this point, we just want good stories and we're not necessarily getting them for the most part.
I just don't.
Well, and it's clear. I'll just add too. It's clear that whatever this mystery is what's going to lead to this next crisis that's being talked about and rumored about. And I think people are sick of crisis. They're sick of status quo changes. Just like
that is
pick a lane and go for 10 years minimum.
I think that is important. People are just sick of crises. Yeah, we've had one crisis after another. Even things that are essentially crisis that they're not calling crisis, like the death, like metal and death metal, were essentially crises without being crises, and people are fucking tired of it.
Yep.
And because all of them, there's already a destination determined. So all they're doing, and you can feel that it feels like they're just filling in the blanks to get to the destination they've already determined, rather than going on an adventure and seeing where it takes them.
Yeah, but DC's always wanted you to ask questions. Every time I pick up a DC comic, I'm like, what's happening? Who's this? Why is this happening? I still don't get it. I finished the issue. What did I just read? It's a wonderful mystery. But
why did they do this to Wally West?
No, but really though, we've gotten to a point, where everything just keeps accelerating, and things just have been going exponentially, where you feel like every week or every month you're picking up a book, and it genuinely feels half the time that it says on the cover, like, a bold new direction. And it's like, I just read a bold new direction. What are we, another bold new direction? Another sister or brother or parent or someone from a multiverse? Like, there's so much going back and changing and fixing things. No one's going forward. I want to just tell me a story that goes forward. I mean,
everything's stuck in a circle.
Every time it's like, oh no, I just found out that I have this sister who's related to my villain. I just found out that my brother from another multiverse lived and I didn't. And now I have to ask them questions. Oh, did that affect? Stop. Go forward. Just have like Spider-Man punch Vulture or something. Just stop. I'm so done with constant bold new directions that are just rehashes of a story I already read.
Are you ready for these multiverse mysteries to be solved, Drew? Are you on pins and needles?
So I read issue number 3 of the upcoming issue next week for Infinite Frontier. Yeah, already read it. Read it from next week. So reading this series, it's really reminding me of Countdown from back in 2011. Just how they're focusing on all these B, C, D-list characters, and it's all going to eventually lead to Darkseid. It's just with this really feeling like just to build up with these small level characters to Darkseid. And I really having a difficult time really caring about this at this point.
Yeah, I want to have a conversation more in depth with Josh at another time about Infinite Frontier and if it's good or not, because I got opinions. I'm not enjoying it. When I saw that page with Director Bones, I was like, you got to be shitting me. I'm like, I'm not invested in any of this stuff.
Wait till you see issue 3. So I'm going to say, wait till you read issue 3.
No, I've already quit. I pulled it off my list. I'm not reading it anymore. The issue 2 sucked. Issue 1 was fine. Issue 2 sucked. I was like, I'm not interested in any of this stuff other than the Roy stuff. He'll show up somewhere else eventually. Yeah. We've got Darth Bobcat late on the topic, but think about it. Bobby Drake, Tim Drake. Are there any other Drakes we should watch out for? Eli Drake became LA Knight in wrestling. Is there any other Drakes in comic books we should be worried about?
Just Drake. We could worry about him actually coming into comics because that'll make it worse.
Oh, man, that dude's got some rhymes. We shall see if all the Drakes are on the list. We've also got Kenneth Dowling. I agree 100% with Joe.
That's it. Don't laugh.
Ridiculous claim. When you talk about representation, every person should have an opportunity to be shown in Hollywood. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I had a terrible joke.
You're going Doc on me?
Yeah, Doc 2.0 over here.
No, it was a Drake's Cakes joke. Forget it.
Oh, that was way worse. Doc's joke was better.
How the hell was mine better? It was awful.
Let's not revisit that one. Wade Kramer. So for Nightwing 82, was John made a worse father just so in the Batverse sphere, Bruce doesn't come off as such a bad father to his wards? That's a good question.
I don't know if it's about making him a worse father. I think it's going to make, anytime you delve into a character's history a little more or start showing them more, you're going to have people question certain things. I think this goes back to what Joe was saying, though. Like, why do we keep going backwards? Like, who freaking cares? And ever since the New 52, DC has had, especially in the Batman universe, has had this, like, crux that they want to go through and make their universe smaller by having everyone connected in some way or another. Everyone's tied to Bruce Wayne. Everyone's tied to Wayne Enterprises. All these people are secretly related. Like, it's turned into a daytime soap opera, and it's so bad.
Well, which is a great setup for City of Bruce.
City of Bruce. Let's do it.
Absolutely.
See, the thing is, it hasn't actually...
They've been seeding City of Bruce the whole time.
Yeah. Somebody's seeding it.
It's been... It's a lazy writer crutch.
Yeah.
When you're not creative enough and you don't have the time or the energy level to actually create a whole new, set of lore or backstory to a character. You just staple it onto something that already exists, and that's all that they're doing right now. It's just tacking it onto something that already exists, making everything smaller in the process while they think they're it's some secret mystery connection. All it does is it makes it smaller and lazier. It's lazy bad writer crutch.
All right, we might just skip that topic at the very end. That was supposed to be the last one. I think we covered Nightwing here, but we do have Kenneth Dowling. Another question for Joe. Why you used to like Doc, now you're on the Joe bandwagon? I don't get it. I believe I've heard you mention you're a fan of long comic runs. How long do you think a great comic book run should be?
I mean, it all depends, but I think over 60 issues or things like that. Like I always go back to
5 years.
Yeah, you need a nice long run. Stuff like Preacher, stuff like Starman from James Robinson, things like that. I'll go back to. I mean, there's a lot of examples of things like that, but that's usually you want stuff where you can do a setup payoff, and you can have stuff that doesn't get paid off from like the beginning until all the way in the end, but you keep having smaller payoffs throughout. Then you have a big payoff multiple times in the run.
Subplots.
There
are no subplots in comics. Doc, tell them about that.
Yeah, they're actually, that's a topic for another time. But look, subplots are really, really important, and primarily because they keep people hanging around. Otherwise, it's a series of irrelevant miniseries, especially when you're writing stories. Of unconnected miniseries that you can read in any order. There's no fear of missing out by leaving. And
it's like Sherlock Holmes short stories. They're great, but you don't have to read them in order.
You end up with stuff like Tom King, where Batman just keeps getting kicked over and over and over and over again, and just you're getting tired of it. You're like, please stop kicking Batman. Let him win something. Let him win something.
Like Denny O'Neil's Iron Man run is another one that I think is that's a solid run. That it all leads up to that big confrontation with Ironmonger at the end, and then like George Perez's Wonder Woman run. That's another one, 60-something issues, and like if you read the whole thing, it's a great payoff at the end where all the villains and other side characters all kind of culminate at the end. Like, that's what I like. James Robinson's Starman run does it expertly, where it's like, oh, now we're having a showdown where all the side characters that were helping Jack and all the villains are now all in Opal City, and now it's on. Like, that's the kind of stuff I love.
Yeah, Robert Venditti had a 50-year run or 50-issue run on Green Lantern, and by the time you get to the last story arc, it's basically tying in things from every story arc preceding it.
Yeah. And
crescendo.
You're seeing it right now, but the thing is, if you haven't set up other subplots, you better be fucking done and ready to hand the thing off, because you're never getting your momentum back.
Yeah.
You've wrapped it up. There's nowhere for you to go now. We're seeing it with the MCU right now, the way people are looking at post Endgame. They spent 20 some movies putting all these subplots together, and then they wrapped them all up in Endgame, and now everybody's like, yeah, but there's no enthusiasm anymore. Like, all the enthusiasm's gone. You're seeing it you see this regularly with almost every comic series that's done. As soon as that story arc you're in right now is over, you don't really give a shit about starting the next one, because there's nothing keeping you there. There's nothing grabbing you and saying you got to keep going.
Yeah. All right. So Nightmare X123 says revisionist historians are writing comics now. You, sir, are correct. We could also call it fanfic. They're making a lot of changes just because that's what they thought about when they were a kid. We got Lane Kramer here. He's speaking for you, Joe. He's putting words in your mouth, and I agree with him. From Joe's perspective, Tom King's Batman run is a top 3 comics run of over the last 10 years. You heard it here first, folks. 85 issues, plus 1 annual.
I do think it's fair to say that Tom King's Batman run is a top 3 Batman run in the past 10 years.
There's only three in
there's only 4 or 5 of them. Yeah.
I think there was only 3.
I think there is
Snyder, him, and James Tynion.
James, yeah.
Yeah, that's sad.
Well, you sly son of a bitch. He was right. He was right.
You can always be in the top 3 when there's only 3.
Yeah. Get it, Dalek. I've mentioned this. My favorite Spider-Man is by Roger Stern and John Romita Jr. That's because it was mostly single issues of Spidey going on adventures, which bogged down long arcs, which I love. It wasn't bogged down by long arcs. Yeah. I love. We don't get that kind of storytelling anymore, Joe. We talk about it all the time in the retrospectives, and definitely go back and read the Roger Stern Spider-Man.
Oh yeah,
do yourself a favor.
Yeah, no, he did a great job, and then he came back later and did some stuff after the initial run, and yeah, it's good. Roger Stern, pretty good writer.
Yeah,
that's all right. He might make it.
Yeah,
he might have a future.
Kids going places.
So we've talked about the multiverse mystery. I don't think it's going very well because no one's really interested, at least that I know of. There's like 3 people that are really bought into this, but that's just not enough. We've got some new Marvel Comics titles coming up. We've got a new Blade one-shot coming from Daniel Kibblesmith, which unfortunately we're getting that before New Warriors. We've got a new Luke Cage City of Fire series, Eternals Celestia one-shot. We've got another Eternals one-shot from Ralph Macchio coming. We've also got a new Captain Marvel story arc that's going to bring back some old Captain Marvels into it. Doc, you are the Marvel aficionado. Which one are you most looking forward to? What do you want to talk about here?
Actually, you know what? Luke Cage I'd be good with, because Eternals, Jesus fucking Christ, you're never going to make it happen, Marvel. It's never going to happen. Eternals sucks. You can't make it good.
Mm-mm.
So let's talk about Luke Cage.
Are you excited about that one? We were going to see Hoche Anderson's coming on for the first time in Marvel Comics. We're going to see Luke Cage go into the streets of New York after there is a police involved shooting of a black man, and he's going to try and help the city out as it is burning to the ground.
I mean, yes, I mean, I'm looking forward to it because I really like Luke Cage. He's one of my favorite street level heroes. I don't necessarily like how topical it is. I feel like it's going to age like milk, but at the same time, I'm willing to give it a shot to see whether or not they can take an interesting take on it.
Sure.
It certainly fits the character, Joe. I mean, you would expect Luke Cage, Power Man, to be in the action if that was happening and trying to help people out.
Yeah, well, depending on how they tell the story, it could be an evergreen story. This is not new. This is not a new thing that's happened. So like they might handle this in a way that's evergreen. I'm certainly willing to give it that shot with like the first issue. So we'll see how it goes. And with the other stuff too, we'll see what happens. I feel like at this point we're just not getting the new Warriors. I think
I gotta review it. I promised my fans.
Well,
I don't have fans. I promised the viewers that give me the opportunity to talk to them.
I think Luciano Vecchio's doing Champions right now, though. I think he already moved on. He's doing that other book, and it's just so. I think Daniel's doing this one shot, and congrats to him. He just had a kid, earlier in the month, I believe, and I'm sure I have no idea what this one shot is or anything, but okay,
it's Darkhold. Isn't that Steve Orlando?
Blade.
Yeah. So
it's that Blade story in
Darkhold.
In that, because I guess they're doing a Darkhold event.
Yeah,
they announced it like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
We shall see. What do you think, Drew? Is this Blade Darkhold going to be worth your time? Is Darkhold going to be good?
The funny thing is, reading the announcement of it, I don't see Daniel Kibblesmith's name until it's buried at the bottom that he's writing it. I'm like, it's like they almost didn't want to lead with him writing it.
No, they didn't.
I was like, oh, he's writing it. Oh, okay. I was like, I was kind of interested in this. I'm like, this sounds pretty good. And then I saw his name. I'm like, oh, this was the guy who was scared of Night Thrasher writing this. So I'm kind of more leaning toward. I don't want to say I'm excited to read this. I'm kind of more looking forward to reading this than the Luke Cage one after reading some of the writers' interviews that he's given in the last year or so. But I'm going to say Blade is edging out Luke Cage right now for me.
Okay.
Eternals isn't even under consideration?
No.
Ralph Macchio, baby? Oh, my goodness. Eternals
they
must
can't
absolutely blow.
They can't. There's nothing they can do at this point. They've had 60 years to make it interesting, and it just hasn't worked.
If fucking Neil Gaiman couldn't make people like the Eternals, Kieran fucking Gillen isn't gonna do it.
With Assad Riddick.
Yeah,
I was very excited about that too because I really like him as an artist, and I like most of what Kieran has done at Marvel. Not so much the X-Men stuff, but Journey into Mystery and Young Avengers I really liked. So I was all for that. That I read one issue and I was like, no, sorry, but I hope they're happy.
Look, we come back to it again for the 3,000th time. The Eternals is everything Jack left on the cutting room floor when he created the fourth world at Disney or at DC. And it was going to be scraps put together into something at Marvel. And it's still scraps today. Nobody can figure out what to do with it because nobody gave a shit.
Well, we do need to say thank you very much to Kenneth Allen. Great conversation today. I recommend the new Moon Knight comic, as do I. Looks good. Take care, fellas. Doc, for the first time in a long time, I have to disagree with you. He's finally smartened up, Doc. When it comes to Drake, he's very talented. He is very talented.
I'm mostly just not a fan of a lot of modern rappers, to be honest. I think most of the rappers in the last decade pretty much junk.
Oh my goodness! Everything after the Sugar Hill Gang sucks, according to Doc. My goodness.
Hey, fuck you! No, I love. No, it's just there's way too much goddamn mumble rap and
it's not mumble rap. It's audio tuned or whatever that thing is.
It's auto tuned mumble rap and a lot of stuff where like just lyrically they don't play with words anywhere near as well. I mean, shit, even like 90s gangster rap played with words better than most modern rappers do.
There's a 40% chance that Doc and I have a rap battle right here on the channel next week. Sure to hear, folks. Thank you very much, Kenneth. We've also got Lane Kramer, and this is going to be great for me to pip up something that's going to be coming up on the channel later. Wes called it. Seems like X-Men 4 no longer have Pepe Larraz. Soon the sales start tumbling. We shall see. That is the case, and there will be a full Marvel Comics solicitations video up at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're interested in my thoughts on Marvel's October solicitations, that video will be up to date. So, yep, Pepe Larraz is off that. I noticed it too. We've also got Lane Kramer here. Drew, we're getting 12 variant covers for Kang the Conqueror *1. Why is that?
Because he's in the MCU. He's in the TV universe now. This is why. But say what you will about him. But real quick, the writers of the series, I have no clue who they are. The one person
Jackson Lanzig and Colin Kelly, is it?
I have no clue who they are.
Exactly.
The one person I think should be writing it, it isn't. He won't. But say what you will about him. I think Mark Waid should be the guy writing about Kang. Honestly, because no one else really knows those legacy characters like he does currently, I believe. But I'll be there for the first issue. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a huge drop off from issue 1 to 2, but we'll see what happens.
Well, you're getting 12 variants. Hopefully, you could push those. Thank you very much, Lane Kramer. Feels like, are we? Oh, wait, we're not caught up. We've got Jimmy from Comic Works. You're going to have a heart attack if you keep talking, Doc.
Maybe.
Threats?
Sounded like
that feels like a threat. Yeah. He's
very nice, Jimmy.
He's going to give me a heart attack from wherever the fuck he's at.
Hi, Jimmy.
There we go. We've talked about the new Marvel Comics stuff. There's really not much exciting. You'll watch the video. I have a good time with some of that stuff. Last thing, we will talk about the Nightwing Retcon. Maybe not everyone is completely aware of this. And I think there's some problematic elements to this, Josh, for reasons. So we get introduced to Melinda Zuko's mother, who's apparently an Asian woman. She's very young. She's been sold like as sex trafficking to Zuko as a bride. And he takes her to the circus, Haley's circus. She escapes. She's hiding in the Flying Graysons. They're not married yet, in their trailer. And so she's been saved by John Grayson. Seems like a very nice thing to do, Josh. But then we find out, like the next page, that he ends up hooking up with her very recently after it. I think that's kind of creepy that you save some young lady from sex trafficking and then you go and start banging it out with yourself.
Yeah, it was definitely a weird decision. I don't know. I think it's a desperate move to try to make another interesting element to Nightwing and to Dick Grayson. And I think that within a year to 2 years, we'll be forgetting that it happened or rewriting that she's not actually related. I don't know.
She gets kidnapped afterwards. She's 3 months pregnant. He comes back and kidnaps her again. John Grayson doesn't keep looking for her.
No.
When after 7 years, she escapes with her daughter. The first place she goes back is to the circus to find John, and he's already remarried and has a child about the same age as obviously this is Dick Grayson as the girl. It's just...
Yeah, Tom Taylor tried to do this dialogue in there to justify everything of like,
he looked for me.
Yeah, and then like
for 2 weeks.
That Dick's parents have always loved each other. They just didn't know it yet because they both put each other on such high pedestals. It's like, look, if I'm putting someone on a pedestal because I think they're amazing, I'm not about to go sleep with somebody else because I think this person's amazing.
It was.
What
do you think?
This was some Marvel Tom Taylor right here. I'm just gonna say that.
It was, Joe. It was so weird.
This is
so real Tom Taylor.
Can you imagine sitting around, having this conversation, maybe talking to an editor, or maybe, this could be editorial direction too, who knows? And at the end of the day, the buck stops with them. They could have, if this was Tom's idea, DC editorial could have been like, what the hell are you? No, go.
It doesn't make any sense.
Do something else. But can you imagine that conversation just being like, how like Nightwing's parents are dead? Yeah. What if we made it like more of a big deal that they're like dead? Like it means something more? It's like, I don't know. I think them being murdered is enough. That's significant, right? Not even close. We're going to go back. We're going to make it like mean a lot more. Really?
Yeah,
because they're dead and he's already a hero. I think we nailed it, guys. Not even close.
Not even close. And we're going to write his parents like we write Dick Grayson now, so you see where he gets it from.
Yeah,
it was bad.
It's like the swinging Grayson.
Justified.
With the puns.
We're gonna bring him back, and and then we're gonna kill him again. Oh.
Just like He-Man.
Somebody was like, "Wes, you're always blaming the man for this stuff." I was like, "Listen, if I had a friend and he saved a woman from sex trafficking, and then I found out 2 weeks later he's trying to sleep with him, I'd be like, what is your problem, man? Don't you know this person's been through a lot? You fucking asshole."
Yeah, but she was her idea.
Yeah, he's like, it takes two to the tango, Wes. Yeah, it does take two to the tango, but you can still take into consideration the
But it was her idea.
Fucking savior complex, man.
No kidding. God,
are you kidding me? I'm the bad guy here.
I think that's the problem is these people that write these comics actually have these fantasies about saving the damsel in distress and then, being with the damsel in distress. It's like
you can write that story and not make it creepy.
That's just super creepy. But that's their fantasy is super creepy, so it comes out on the paper that way.
I don't know, Drew. You read Nightwing. I know you did. Did you come away creeped out too? Are we crazy?
No, the only thing I could see that he came away with was giving more motive to Tony Zuko. That's the only thing we got out of that. it just gave more motive for him to kill the
Tony
Great.
Zuko wasn't so wrong. They stole his wife.
Yeah. Here we go. Yeah. Okay. Now this makes sense now. No, I didn't like it. But yeah, it really came across as very emotionally manipulative of his dad, and like he just emotionally, what is wrong with this guy? It's a coonhound. Coonhound. It's just like I don't get it. It's just he's crazy now. No.
In the next couple of years, Tony Zuko's going to be full on sidekick to Nightwing. They're going to bond. He's going to forgive him. He's going to be like, come on, you know what? You murdered my parents, but you know what?
You did the right thing, Tony.
I see what you did now. You're going to be the father I never had. Yeah. Sorry, Bruce. And we're going to really we're going to bond and we're going to stop crime together. And then after a while, it's going to be like, you know what, Blockbuster buddy, you're all right. Come on, let's all fight crime together.
But really, his dad. Really, I mean, how long did his dad look for her? I mean, it was like an hour and called it quits. I mean, that's it. That's what it seemed like.
Yeah,
it's like, I kind of tried.
You know what? Hey,
she's not in the parking lot, fellas. I don't know where she went. She'll make it back because it's like 7 years later. It's like, oh, I forgot I was looking for you. Yeah,
were you again?
Get out of here.
I looked in one place, and now
she's not in her trailer, fellas. I don't know what happened. It was ransacked. You know, there was a signs of a struggle, but I don't know. She'll be back.
I don't really have anywhere to start, so let's go to Taco Bell.
It's gonna be.
Let's start wrap this up, Doc. Jimmy says he wasn't threatening to give you a heart attack. It was a love note because you are a heart attack.
I kind of am.
He hasn't seen you with the patch yet.
Yeah. Kiss emoji. I like it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. Well, we got to get you back on the channel sometime. I wanted you last week to talk about Loki since you're the only person in the world that liked that series.
Yeah.
That's not they're the people that like it, but not anybody I know that likes it. So.
Look, hey, but on this Nightwing thing, I mean, come on, guys. I keep telling you, when are you going to start listening to me? When I tell you a writer is shit, inevitably I end up being proven right. I say Tom Taylor's shit. You're like, oh, deceased. And then Tom Taylor. Because Tom Taylor, without somebody making him not sucks.
So
he does need some heavy editorial.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
But that's potentially it. But for me, Tom Taylor's written good stuff at DC other than just Deceased. Like his Injustice run, I thought was really good. He came back to save the Injustice run for me. He's done some Batman annuals and one-shots that were excellent. He did some work on Batman and Superman that was also really good. I'm forgetting a few things, but he's done good work at DC. And then I went to read his Marvel stuff because of that, and I was like, "Ooh, I don't know what this is." And
that's because Marvel didn't give him editors.
Yeah, probably.
But he's doing the Dark Detective with Andy Kubert, isn't he?
That's actually pretty.
Batman did it.
Yeah, it's a solid story.
Yeah,
that's been fine, and I like Suicide Squad. His run on that, I know not everyone did, but I liked it. So,
yeah,
you know.
It was good until it was like had to get cut short.
Yeah.
When you leave him alone, he's trash.
All right, Doc.
So that makes him bad, and his editors.
I'm giving you the music while you're on stage at the Oscars. I'm gonna wrap it up. Time to get some comic book recommendations. We got a couple more comments in here. Jimmy just can't let it go. Loki was great. Masters of the Universe was booty tickle. It made your booty tickle. Well, that's the best thing I've heard about Masters of the Universe.
I hate that. Jimmy. I hate that phrase.
I think it's more about anything else. Jeez.
We're using booty tickle.
I didn't like it more than
power bottom thing. I have no idea.
This is no.
I don't know.
I think a preparation H fixes that. That's not good.
Kenneth Dowling, moral of the story: always listen to Doc. Jesus, that is not the moral of the story. I had to come back. Don't listen to Doc. Doc's a moron. I think we've established that multiple times in this video.
Wow.
I think I established that today.
Thank you very much, Kenneth. Yeah, Doc makes a point or two here and there. That's why we keep him around. Thank you for supporting the channel. Let's get into comic book recommendations. Now, I want to steal this one before everyone goes for it, but I'm recommending Mother of Madness from Emilia Clarke and Marguerite Bennett.
Oh.
It's the feel-good comic of the week.
Harry Pitts and all.
If you hate men, you should probably love this comic. I'm teasing. I wouldn't recommend that comic. I got a video on it. It was not very good. Drew, did you like Mother of Madness?
I said it in our review. If eventually when I go to hell and for all of eternity, I am punished with reading one comic to the end of time, it will be that comic. Mother of Madness will be the one comic I will be punished with reading until the end of time.
It's like, what is it? The Clockwork Orange, your eyes are going to be open. It's just going to be Mother of Madness.
Yes, just slowly going.
Just the opening page. You just have to read all that text and take you a year to get through it.
From page 1, it's crazy. I could not believe it.
My hell comic is X Corp #1.
Metatron's Cube. Doc was right. Subplot. Ugh. Where did that? Yep. That's terrible. What are you actually recommending, Drew? I'm sorry, we're at Comics Elite.
So my 2 books this week. 2 books I'm going to recommend. Blue and Gold #1 by Dan Jurgens. Fantastic first issue. The boys are back.
I missed the boat.
Yep. Oh, dude, it's fantastic. But my #1 this week, Superman Red and Blue, #5. This is going to go down as probably my favorite book of the year and best short story of the year by Daniel Warren Johnson. It was fantastic.
It was a beautiful story, wasn't it?
Yes.
It's like everything I've always felt about Superman and why he's a superhero. It's because of who he is that Kansas farmer. It's not because of his superpower.
Yes. Yep. And Daniel Warren Johnson gets it better than most people, and this is why he should be writing Superman.
Yep, that was a beautiful one. We got Yule Carter saying, look out for Amazing Fantasy #1 this Wednesday. If you're interested in Carrie Andrews, the writer and artist on that book, and it's got Captain America on a griffin on the cover. That's all you need to know. Carrie Andrews is going to be on his YouTube channel, Fantastic Comics, on Tuesday live. You want to go in there and ask some questions?
I read it yesterday. Solid thumbs up. It is damn good.
That's what I wanted to hear, my friend. So definitely check that out. If you want to hear from Carrie Andrews and get the 411 on Amazing Fantasy, definitely check that out. Oh, my goodness. We got Jimmy. Infinity War by Jim Starlin and Ron Lim. I reread it. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Set him straight, Joe. Don't hold back.
Huh.
We don't have time for this right now. I don't have time for this, Jimmy. We'll talk about it later.
All right, we'll do it later, Jimmy. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. All right, Doc, what do you recommend this week? You got any comics that are new?
X-Men Legend whatever the hell number this
5.
one was. 5?
Yeah.
Is that it? Yeah, it was really good. Great start to Peter David. He's been playing his greatest hits for most of the past 2 years with doing Maestro, doing Symbiote Spider-Man, doing now X-Men Legends, doing what he did. He was doing another one, wasn't he?
Symbiote
Spider-Man? Maestro. He's been Symbiote Spider-Man. Those are the ones.
Yeah. No, I feel like there was one more too. But regardless, he's been doing his greatest hits, and he's been hitting them out of the park. This is a good setup issue. It bounces around from current, kind of like present to flashback throughout it, but it keeps bouncing back and forth, and you're getting all different perspective. It kind of reminds me of that the therapy issue that was all super popular. I mean, similar in style, but not plot or theme in this one. But yeah, it was good. It was it explores a lot of the different ways all the different characters see their role in X Factor, and I'm really looking forward to the next issue.
Boom. All right, who we got next? Pele, what are you recommending down at Parts Unknown?
I've really got to go with Moon Knight #1. It blew my hair back. I was really I knew he probably would try with that, but it was really special, really amazing, great start to the series, and I'm excited for it going forward. Blue and Gold, that was fantastic. I just love the dynamic between Booster Gold, Blue Beetle anyway. But that was really great too. And yeah, keep buying Usagi Yojimbo and Nottingham, because both of those are fantastic and great ongoing series.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Josh, what do you recommend?
I'm gonna back Drew and Moon Knight as well, but I'll go in and say Catwoman. I think it's the best Bat book hitting sands right now. So if you're not reading it, go catch up with what Ram V's been doing, because he's actually got a great story going. He's got subplots. He's got supporting characters that actually carry weight. You can tell he's telling a long form story, but he has some payoffs all throughout it. It's good. He's just a good writer. So that'll be my pick.
It's going off the rails in Fear State, though, right?
You know what? And this is, to me, what separates good writers from bad writers. You're always going to have comic books, mandates that are going to throw you off on what you're wanting to do. But when you have good writers, they find ways to make it work, and he's making it work to his advantage. So it's worth checking out. He's already kind of started planting those seeds. I think, once he realized he was going to have to fall into this, he started trying to find ways to make it work and fit for his story, and that's what he's doing. So kudos to Ram V.
And people usually been buying it for the variant covers and stuff, but it's more than just variant cover fodder.
Yeah, Jenny's great, but Ram V is just as great too. Yeah.
All right, Joe, you got anything good to recommend this week?
Oh, Backstar number 3. Nottingham number 5, finishing the first arc, which has already been brought up. I caught up on By the Horns finally. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did, and the 4th issue I think comes out in a few weeks, so there's still a chance to catch up on that one. That's from Scout Comics. I was catching up on some other stuff too. There was this big oversized book that came out a few weeks ago from Image, Cain and Abel. It's from the guys that did Bulletproof Coffin, and that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that one. And I will say, in defense of Mom, you're ready for this.
The art's good.
The thing, the art is good. Well, I think Marguerite Bennett, I think may have worked with that artist at Aftershock on something. I'm blanking on exactly what it is. I think that's
Was it Animosity?
It might have been Animosity. I'm trying to, because there were a few artists I think on that, because there were a few spin-offs and this and that. But the thing I will defend is I read the whole thing, and I read the letter at the end of it. And what I will say, and this is not about the quality of the book, but you read the letter and it all makes sense, because it's Emilia Clarke just saying, I had no idea what comic books were really, but I started going to Comic Cons because I'm in Game of Thrones and Terminator and all that stuff. And then I was like, what are these things? And I'm looking and I'm like, a comic book? I could do a comic book. Why not? This looks fun. And when you start putting it in that perspective and understand this is a rich, successful actress who is just
know what the fuck she's doing.
But it's that, but it's so earnest. It was just genuinely like, ooh, a comic book. This would be fun. Like, she's taking it as like a cute sort of hobby kind of thing. Like, ooh, wouldn't it be fun if I made a comic book? And when you put it all clicks. And you're just like, I get it now. Like, I'm not as, like, it's weird.
Insulted?
It's weird to say it this way, but I'm like, knowing that it's just like a cute kind of side vanity thing that she was just like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I made a comment? It's like, it's sort of just washed away any of like the frustration about it, because I'm like, oh, okay.
It was just a goofy idea. It was just a goofy idea that she had, and she's not trying to really say the things. This is cute.
Yeah, this is what rich people do, rich and famous people do, just for like we would decide, hey, I'm going to put together a fucking scrapbook.
Yeah.
She should have had Keanu Reeves as her mentor.
Keanu Reeves on one end, Emilia Clarke on the other. It's amazing.
He took it very seriously.
But all my frustration with it just washed away at the end. I was like, oh, you know what? You have fun. Whatever you want.
Yeah, rich famous lady vanity project. What? Fuck it, have fun.
Yeah,
whatever.
I'm just like, yeah, who cares? Fine.
All right, so I don't really have anything to recommend. I would have been Moon Knight number 1. It hasn't been a great week outside of X-Men Legends as well. So we do have this question. What's the Grant Morrison Batman predictions? If you go to Batman 666, the Grant Morrison one that he wrote, it's predicting like all the stuff that's happening right now as far as like pandemics and stuff.
Well, I'm sorry I took your pick, Wes.
No, it's fine. It's just been a shitty comic week, and I haven't read everything, so there could be a diamond in the rough. I haven't read Dark Blood. I haven't read Deja Thor's John Carter. I haven't read Siphon yet. So there's some new comics that I haven't been able to get to just because the end of the week got very busy, and I had to make some videos. So
seriously, about the Nottingham thing, people should be reading that. Finish this arc, and then the next one going forward, it's going to be
the great twist at the end, comic book style, and that was a lot of fun. I want to say thank you very much to everybody. Had a lot of fun today. Really appreciate the support. We talked about He-Man. We talked about 5G. We talked about He-Man for an hour. All right. So that one took a while. So we did have to truncate the rest of the topics, and we will be back right here next week on the Comics Aficionados. Hopefully, chewing the fat, having fun talking about comic books, and we'll see you all later.
Wash your ass.
Front to back.